Nepal government concerned over escalating Middle East conflicts stresses on need to ensure safety of peacekeepers deployed in the region. Over 65,000 Nepalese submit details through Foreign Ministry's online portal for assistance amid Middle East crisis. Flights from TIA continues to be disrupted. Neglect leaves several heritage sites of Nepal's Doli district in ruins, raises alarm over preservation of country's cultural legacy. Multiple explosions reported across Tehran as US-Israeli attacks continue. Oil prices surge as supply fears offset IEA's record stockpile release. China's annual parliamentary session concludes in Beijing. Meet endorses 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development. And Iranian sports minister confirms Iran not participating in FIFA World Cup 2026. Withdrawal from US-hosted tournament cited as security concerns. Hello there, I'm Sweetu Gising Tamang. Welcome to NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo, and just after midnight in Sydney. The details now. The government of Nepal has expressed concern over the escalating tensions in Middle East and stressed the need to ensure the safety of peacekeepers deployed in the region. According to Nepal's permanent mission to the United Nations in New York City, Nepal has emphasized the importance of guaranteeing the security of the United Nations interim force in Lebanon operating in Lebanon. The call follows a recent attack in southern Lebanon that left 3 peacekeepers injured. Nepal joined other UN member states in expressing strong support for the personnel and stressed that peacekeepers should never be targeted. The government also strongly condemned attacks against UN staff and wished the injured personnel a swift and full recovery. Nepal, along with the international community, has urged all concerned parties to exercise maximum restraint, respect international law, and fully implement relevant resolutions of the United Nations Security Council. A total of 65,886 Nepali citizens have registered their personal details in the online registration system launched by the Department of Consular Services under the Nepal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs amid the ongoing Middle East crisis so far. According to the Foreign Ministry, the submitted details are currently being assessed and processed for further necessary action. Following the attacks on Iran by the United States of America and Israel, the Middle East region has been experiencing rising tensions and escalating conflict. The online portal was launched on March 2, and personal information is being collected through the respective Nepali embassies in the region. The ministry and Nepali diplomatic missions in West Asia are reportedly working to ensure the safety and welfare of Nepali citizens residing there. According to ministry spokesperson Lok Bahadur Paudel, as per the decisions of the second meeting of the emergency response team coordinated by Foreign Secretary Amrit Bahadur Rai, all Nepali missions in Middle East have been directed to contact Nepali citizens facing difficulties through email, telephone or other appropriate communication channels, make efforts to maintain their morale and document their responses. The ministry has also urged all Nepali citizens in Middle East to remain patient during this challenging situation and refrain from recording or circulating photos, videos or audio materials that violate the law. Escalating tensions in the Middle East have severely disrupted international flights through one of the key transit hubs in the world. This has left many travelers struggling to reach their destinations, including those from Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. Authorities say rescue flights and alternative routes are being arranged, but uncertainty continues for those urgently needing to travel. Sabika Shrestha brings the story of panic-stricken travelers.
समस्या त अब फ्लाइट क्यान्सल भएको छ सबैजना अब रिस्केजुलको लागि कोही रिफन्डको लागि आउनु भएको छ अब सकेसम्म चाँडो भन्दा चाँडो मान्छेहरुलाई चाहिँ रिस्केजुल गरेर आफ्नो डेस्टिनेसन पुर्याइदिए सहज हुन्थ्यो भन्ने लाग्छ अब रिस्केजुलको लागि अनलाइन नहुने रहेछ फेरि मान्छेहरु यहाँ आउनु पर्यो लाइन बस्नु पर्यो दिनभरि लाग्ने रहेछ के यो त यो चाहिँ अनलाइन गर्दिए चाहिँ अझ अलि सहज हुन्थ्यो कि मान्छेहरुलाई.
This is a regular routine for many Nepali migrant workers who are knocking the doors of their flight operators to reschedule their ticket. Disruption of flights in some of the major labor destinations of Nepali migrant workers has troubled thousands who had come home on vacation. They are more worried about reaching their destination rather than personal safety, despite the conflict in the Middle East escalating by the day. Since the workers travel on a tight schedule and fear losing their job contract, if they don't reach within 60 days, they are hit the panic button.
Most of the people चाहिँ अहिले उहाँहरु के भने छुट्टीमा आउनु भएको छ 1 महिना या 2 महिना धेरै कम्पनीहरुले जम्मा 2 महिना 60 दिनको भिजा दिया हुन्छ र 60 दिन भित्र त्यहाँ फर्किएन भने त्यो भिजाको चाहिँ भिजा भ्यालिड भयो भने पनि 2 महिना भित्र 60 दिन भित्र रिटर्न भएन भने त्यो अटो भिजा चाहिँ एक्सपायर हुन्छ र अटो एक्सपायर हुनु भनेको पछाडीको रोजगारी पनि गुम्नु हो नि यहाँबाट नेपालबाट बेसिकली मिडल इस्ट र युरोप अनि अमेरिकन डेस्टिनेसनहरुमा जाने चाहिँ मोस्ट अफ द प्यासेन्जर अथवा हामीलाई फ्लाइट भनेको अलि सस्तो पनि यही मिडल इस्ट क्यारियर नै थियो यिनहरु नै बन्द हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब नेपालीहरुको त मोमेन्ट नै बन्द भयो.
The disruption, which began on March 12, has impacted flights through major transit hubs such as Doha, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, and Jordan, also affecting passengers transiting in those destinations. As a result, hundreds of passengers have been left stranded or forced to delay their travel, creating congestion at airline counters at Tribhuvan International Airport and their head offices. Airlines operating from Nepal and the Middle East have reduced or cancelled a number of flights as the regional airspace remains partially restricted. Aviation officials say more than 75 flights have been cancelled over the past 2 weeks, leaving more than 12,000 passengers affected. Meanwhile, officials at Tribhuvan International Airport say airlines are gradually adjusting operations to minimize disruptions. Spokesperson for Tribhuvan International Airport said rescue flights are being arranged and airlines are also modifying routes to continue services.
अहिले फुल शेड्युलमा पनि फ्लाइटहरु सञ्चालन त गरेको छैन जस्तो 4 वटा फ्लाइट छ भने 3 वटा गरिएको छ 2 टा फ्लाइटहरु गरेको छ भने एउटा अब जति आएको छ अहिले चाहिँ धेरै स्ट्यान्डर्ड प्यासेन्जरहरुलाई गरिरहेको छ एयरलाइन्सहरुसँग पनि हामी क्लोज कोअर्डिनेसनमा छौं र उनीहरुले पनि अब नोटिस निकालिरहेको छ यो फ्लाइट हुन्छ यो हुँदैन र अब उनीहरुलाई पनि त्यो कुन दिनमा कसको फ्लाइटहरु हुन्छ भन्ने कुराहरु नि उनीहरुले पब्लिक नोटिस नि जारी गरेकोले उनीहरुलाई सबै प्यासेन्जरहरुलाई चाहिँ एकदम हेल्प गरिरहनु भएको छ अहिले.
As of Thursday evening, only 3 rescue flights, one each from Nepal Airlines, Himalaya Airlines and Air Arabia, have landed at Tribhuvan International Airport, ferrying stranded passengers at Dubai Airport. According to the TIA, 2 flights, one of Fly Dubai and another of Air Arabia, have been scheduled to depart to Dubai on Thursday. Authorities say they are closely monitoring developments in the Middle East and coordinating with airlines to ensure passengers are assisted as the airspace over major labor destination of Nepali migrant workers struggles to operate. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Nepal's aviation sector has pivoted from a historic high to a sudden standstill as Middle Eastern airspace closures wipe out 60% of the daily traffic at Tribhuvan International Airport. The suspension of approximately 70 daily flights to the Gulf region has stranded thousands of workers and triggered an immediate crisis for the nation's remittance-dependent economy. Sarah Sapsanamarai looks into the numbers.
For 3 years, Tribhuvan International Airport in the capital Kathmandu represented Nepal's gaining momentum from post-pandemic surge of 2023 to historic milestone in 2025 when international passenger numbers crossed the 5 million mark for the first time. The airport was a system running at its absolute limit. But as of March 12, 2026, the heart of Nepal's global connection is beating at half speed. Just 2 weeks ago, on February 27, the airport recorded a peak of 106 international flights to and fro, moving over 16,900 passengers in a day. According to Civil Aviation Authority Nepal, those numbers have collapsed by more than 25% on a daily basis now. Passenger traffic has dwindled to around 6,800, with daily international flight movements dropping down from 106 to just around 80. as airlines like Qatar Airways and Air Arabia face massive disruptions. Qatar Airways has seen nearly 90% of its schedule vanish globally, operating just 29 flights a day from Doha, while Air Arabia's regional network remains a shadow of its former self, according to international media reports. Even that number includes cargo freighters and one-way emergency rescue missions. The bottleneck is most visible at the terminal gates, where nearly 2,000 migrant workers remain stranded, their labor permits in hand, but no sky to fly through. With over 28 daily flights to and from Gulf hubs like Doha and Dubai cancelled or diverted, Nepal's vital 80 billion rupees monthly remittance flow is under immediate threat, just as the spring trekking season, which usually sees 100,000 plus arrivals, faces a wave of cancellations from Europe. 3 emergency rescue flights have landed so far at the Tribhuvan International Airport. This includes one each from Nepal Airlines, Himalaya Airlines and Air Arabia. The rescue flights were operated targeting the transiting passengers at Dubai International Airport who had been waiting for days. For a nation built on mobility, these silent skies represent more than a delay. They are also a test of Nepal's economic resilience. Sarah Sapsanamarai for NTV World, Kathmandu.
Time for a short break now. We shall be back with more updates, too. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now the remaining updates. The temperature in most parts of Nepal has increased from March 10 to, as of today, that's March 12. Data from the country's Department of Hydrology and Meteorology suggests a gradual rise in temperature in most cities of the Tarai and Madhesh regions. A similar pattern has also been noticed in Kathmandu. On March 10, the temperature in the federal capital was recorded at 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, while it reached 25.4 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Tonight, the minimum temperature is expected to range between 15 and 17 degrees Celsius. Until this afternoon, Siraha and Baake reported the highest temperature at 31.1 degrees Celsius, while Humde Airport in Manang recorded 3.2 degrees Celsius. Overall, the temperature is forecast to rise over the next 3 days, with generally fair weather conditions expected. Meteorologists say that the temperature has increased due to rising air humidity and is likely to increase further in the coming days. Historic palaces and archaeological significance in Nepal's far western district of Doti are gradually falling into ruin, highlighting growing concerns about the protection of cultural heritage in Nepal. Local residents say the palaces, important symbols of the region's history and potential tourist attractions, have deteriorated due to a lack of conservation efforts. Many of these structures were built during the rule of regional kings and the Rana dynasty across the far western region of the country. The palaces, constructed during the powerful era of the Doti kingdom, are known for their distinctive architecture and traditional craftsmanship. However, experts and locals warn that without immediate restoration and international attention, these historically significant sites could be lost. Among the key heritage structures are the Bhairavkot Palace, Niroli Palace, Dhurkot Palace and another palace located in Silgari, Chachanthali. Several of these sites have already collapsed into ruins. The Malla-era Niroli Palace in Zorail Rural Municipality 6 is also rapidly deteriorating. It is stressed preserving such sites is vital not only for Nepal's national identity but also for safeguarding cultural heritage of global significance. In Nepal's hilly districts of Gulmi and Sakhwasaba, election police recruited for March 5 HOR elections have been bid farewell following the successful conduct of the polls. In Gulmi, the district police office organized a farewell program honoring 1,700 election police from Nepal Police and Armed Police Force. Superintendent of Police Narayan Prasad Adhikari lauded their vital role in maintaining peace, fairness and a fear-free environment during the elections. Meanwhile, in Sakhwasaba, nearly 1,000 temporary election police were bid farewell after 40 days of duty at the Arun Ghat camp. Deputy Superintendent of Police Kumar Prasad Mainali said their effective performance was crucial in conducting the elections smoothly despite limited facilities. Both districts recognize the contributions of the election police with certificates of appreciation. Many recruits noted that the short-term employment provided much-needed support amid rising unemployment. Officials say similar mobilizations will be important in future provincial and local elections. In a village in Nepal's western district of Syangja, locals have preserved traditional settlement names while pursuing development, creating a model that balances progress with cultural identity. Known as Nepal's first homestay village, Ponchamul continues to attract tourists, while officials say its approach helps protect heritage, often lost through renaming trends elsewhere. Subeksha Razak, along with local correspondent Himal Neupane, brings more in this story.
With federalism bringing development projects and administrative restructuring, the trend of renaming villages and settlements has grown across Nepal. In many places, contemporary names have overshadowed traditional ones known for generations. However, Ponchamul Majubhanjang village in Adikhola Rural Municipality 1, Syangja, has taken a different path. Locals have preserved their traditional village names while using them to establish a new identity. Community members say naming development projects after local settlements has made social activities and administrative work easier, while also strengthening local recognition. Clear identification of settlements helps in project selection and makes social and administrative tasks more effective, said local resident Khemnanda Sharma.
हाम्रो यो पुरानो नामले चिनिने जुन टोलहरू थिए त्यो टोलको नामाकरण पनि नमेटिने र अनि त्यसपछि विकासको क्रमलाई पनि हामीले चाहिँ यो टोल छुट्याएर राख्दाखेरि विकास गर्नको लागि पनि हेरियो टोलका लागि यति काम गर्न सहज होस् भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ सहज हुन्छ भन्ने लाग्छ मलाई.
Ponchamul is also known as the first homestay village in Nepal, attracting both domestic and international tourists. Locals believe that preserving traditional names alongside homestay tourism helps visitors understand the village's cultural identity while protecting its originality. Adikhola Rural Municipality representative Vishwanath Patel noted that while renaming trends elsewhere risk erasing heritage, Ponchamul's initiative to safeguard traditional names can serve as a model.
मान्छेले आफ्नो स्वभाव शैलीमा परिवर्तन गर्ने कुरा, आफ्ना रीतिरिवाज र संस्कृतिहरूलाई संरक्षण गर्ने कुरा, आदर गर्ने कुराहरू यो सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण विकास रहेको छ.
If replicated, it could ensure that development goes hand in hand with cultural preservation.
International updates, but before that, let's take a short breather here. Multiple explosions have been reported across Iran's capital Tehran and other cities as US-Israeli attacks continue. This comes as the US-Israel strikes on the Islamic Republic approached their third week. The conflict showed no signs of letting up, with Tehran responding with more retaliatory attacks across the Gulf. Iraq has shut down oil port operations after deadly attacks on two foreign oil tankers, as Bahrain, Kuwait, the UAE and Saudi Arabia intercept more Iranian missiles and drones. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian outlined three conditions to end the war: recognition of Tehran's legitimate rights, payment of reparations, and firm international guarantees against future aggression. Iran and Hezbollah launched coordinated waves of attacks on Israel as the Israeli military continues large-scale attacks on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Meanwhile, oil prices rose and stocks sank in Asia on Thursday. Iran struck 2 tankers in Iraq and threatened to bring down the global economy, overshadowing a record release of strategic crude by the International Energy Agency, IEA. In the meantime, U.S. forces have struck 28 Iranian mine-laying vessels, President Donald Trump says, as Tehran seeks to choke the vital Strait of Hormuz to oil traffic amid the Middle East war. Trump told this to reporters during a trip to Cincinnati, Ohio, a day after the U.S. military gave a figure of 16 mine-laying boats destroyed.
They started talking about mines, so we hit 28 mine ships as of this moment, 28. Like using the same weapon, the exact same weapon that we use against the drug dealers.
Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Amir Saeed Iravani, has defended its attacks on Gulf states as lawful, necessary and proportionate as the Security Council passes a resolution demanding an immediate halt to the attacks.
In response to this deliberate and unjustified aggression, the Islamic Republic of Iran has exercised and continues to exercise its inherent right of self-defense in accordance with Article 51 of the United Nations Charter to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. And in light of the failure of the United Nations Security Council to discharge its duty and responsibilities under the Charter of the United Nations, has undertaken necessary and proportionate defensive operation against the bases and facilities of the aggressors in the region. Such actions are lawful under international law and have been clearly and repeatedly warned of in advance through various channels and at different levels. Our response is lawful, necessary and proportionate.
Meanwhile, India is facing growing concerns over possible cooking gas shortages as disruptions from the Middle East conflict affect energy supplies. Authorities say India is planning to prioritize natural gas distribution after the war in the Middle East disrupted shipments of liquefied natural gas. In the western city of Vadodara, residents were seen queuing outside gas agencies with empty cylinders, reporting delays in receiving cooking gas. Many households fear a potential shortage of liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, which is widely used for cooking across the country. Officials say the government is monitoring the situation closely as supply chains remain under pressure due to the ongoing conflict affecting energy routes in the Middle East. The Kremlin has accused Ukraine of targeting a major gas pipeline in southern Russia that leads to Turkey with reckless drone strikes. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Ukraine has hit Russian energy targets throughout Moscow's 4-year offensive, a war that has killed thousands and displaced millions.
Это еще одно нападение на объект международной нитки международного нефтепровода, который обеспечивает энергетическую безопасность и Турции, и целого ряда других стран. Абсолютно безрассудные действия киевского режима.
Tomorrow international updates, but time to go for a short break again. Do stay tuned. You're watching NTV World, and now more from international. China has concluded its annual parliamentary meeting, approving a series of key policies and legislative measures that will shape the country's economic and social development in the coming years. The closing session of the National People's Congress was held at the Great Hall of the People, attended by President Xi Jinping and other senior leaders. During the meeting, lawmakers endorsed the government work report and approved China's 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development, covering the period from 2026 to 2030. Delegates also passed several major laws, including the Ecological and Environmental Code, the Ethnic Unity and Progress Promotion Law, and the National Development Planning Law. China's top legislator Zhao Leiji addressed the closing ceremony, highlighting the role of legislation in supporting the country's long-term development goals. Chetu-di Chambord races to save its François I wing amid urgent structural concerns. Bangladesh's newly elected parliament has convened for the first time since the Delhi uprising that shook the country in 2024. Lawmakers gathered in the capital Dhaka following February elections that brought Tariq Rahman to power as Prime Minister. Rahman, leader of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, took office after his party secured victory in the polls, replacing the interim administration that had governed the country since August 2024. The caretaker government had been installed following months of unrest triggered by a violent uprising that left hundreds dead and pushed the nation into political turmoil. The new parliament is now expected to focus on restoring political stability and addressing economic challenges in the South Asian country of around 170 million people. One of France's most famous historic landmarks, the Château de Chambord, is facing a major structural threat as part of the building risks collapsing. Cracks in the walls, weakened floors and shifting structures have been discovered in the François I wing of the Renaissance Palace, forcing authorities to close the area to visitors since 2019. Officials say urgent restoration work is needed to prevent further damage to the historic section originally built in 1539 for François I of France. Experts estimate the large-scale renovation project will cost around 37 million euros. So far, about 12 million euros have been secured through government funding and public donations. A fundraising campaign has also been launched to support the restoration of the UNESCO-listed heritage site, which attracts more than 1 million visitors each year. If the project moves forward as planned, the historic wing could reopen to visitors by 2032. Now to latest from sports. The All Nepal Football Association (ANFA) has appointed 52-year-old Swiss coach Guglielmo Arena as the head coach of the Nepal national men's football team. Arena has been given a one-year mandate to lead the team. Arena previously managed clubs in Laos and Morocco. His appointment marks the return of a European coach to Nepali football after nearly 2.5 years. An APC Pro license holder, Arena is recognized as a tactical nomad, a coach capable of adapting strategies according to team needs. In the past 5 years, the Nepal men's football team has gone through 6 different coaches, including 3 foreign appointments, reflecting continued efforts to strengthen the team ahead of regional and international competitions. Iran says it will not take part in the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup, citing security concerns and the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Iran's Sports Minister Ahmad Doniamali said the country cannot safely send its national team to the tournament under current conditions, following recent military strikes involved in the United States and Israel. He said the ongoing war and rising tensions have created a situation where the safety of players and officials cannot be guaranteed. The World Cup, scheduled to be hosted by the United States, Mexico and Canada, is set to run from June 11 to July 19 and will feature 48 teams. Iran had already qualified for the tournament and was drawn in Group G alongside Belgium, Egypt and New Zealand, but its participation now remains uncertain as the regional conflict continues. Clubs from the Premier League failed to secure a win in the first legs of the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League, leaving their chances of reaching the quarterfinals under pressure. Manchester City suffered a 3-0 defeat to Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, placing the Spanish side in a strong position ahead of the second leg. Chelsea were also beaten 5-2 by defending champions Paris Saint-Germain, leaving the London club facing a difficult task in the return match. Arsenal secured a 1-1 draw against Bayer Leverkusen after scoring a late penalty, keeping their qualification hopes alive. It is seen that the probability of Premier League teams progressing to the quarter-finals has significantly declined following the first leg results. The second leg matches will be played March 17 to 18, with the aggregate winners advancing to the quarter-finals. The 8-seeded teams who finished in the top 8 spots in the league phase will be at home for the second legs against the 8 teams who qualified through the playoff round. This brings us to the end of this news bulletin. But before we say goodbye, a reminder of the headlines. Nepal government concerned over escalating Middle East conflict, stresses on need to ensure safety of peacekeepers deployed in the region. Over 65,000 Nepalis submit details through Foreign Ministry's online portal for assistance amid Middle East crisis. Flights from TIA continues to be disrupted. Neglect leaves several heritage sites of Nepal's Doti district in ruins, raises alarm over preservation of country's cultural legacy. Multiple explosions reported across Tehran as US-Israeli attacks continue. Oil prices surge as supply fears offset IEA's record stockpile release. China's annual parliamentary session concludes in Beijing. Meet endorses 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development. And Iranian sports minister confirms Iran not participating in FIFA World Cup 2026. Withdrawal from US-hosted tournament cited as security concerns. And that's it for this edition of NTV World Primetime News. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
The war in the Middle East continues to escalate with multiple new developments. Iran's new supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei, is reportedly safe and sound despite earlier claims of injuries, his son and government advisor said. Israeli strikes hit central Beirut, including residential areas, as Lebanese authorities report nearly 760,000 people displaced, while Iran reportedly fired missiles towards Israel, triggering the country's air defenses. Maritime tensions rose as cargo and container ships near the Strait of Hormuz and off the United Arab Emirates were struck by unknown projectiles, and the US said it destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia intercepted missiles and drones aimed at its military bases and oil infrastructure, and crude oil prices fell after reports of a proposed large release from global reserves. The U.S. military has released images showing strikes on several Iranian naval vessels, including 16 mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz, amid escalating conflict in the Middle East. President Donald Trump warned the operation could last longer than a month, with objectives to destroy Iran's missile, naval, and nuclear capabilities while stopping support for regional armed groups. The conflict has spread across the region, with Israeli strikes targeting Lebanon and Hezbollah, Iran-backed forces reportedly firing missiles towards Israel, and drones hitting the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia. Maritime tensions remain high as the U.S. says it destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying boats, while Gulf states intercepted missiles and drones aimed at military bases and oil infrastructure. Casualties continue to rise, with U.S. Central Command reporting 6 American personnel killed, Iranian media citing hundreds of Iranian deaths, and Lebanese authorities reporting at least 52 killed in Israeli strikes on Beirut. Israeli strikes and evacuation orders have forced more than 100,000 people to flee their homes in Lebanon within a single day, the UN says. The figure is part of a large displacement of 700,000 people across the country in just over a week amid escalating conflict in the Middle East. Carolina Lindholm-Billing, UNHCR's Lebanon representative, told a press briefing in Geneva that lives have been upended on a massive scale.
Here is that lives have been upended on a massive scale. I mean, according to the Lebanese authorities, as of today, more than 667,000 people in Lebanon have now registered on the government's online platform as displaced. And this is an increase of 100,000 in just one day, and the numbers continue to rise.
At least 6 people have been killed and 5 others injured after a regional postal bus caught fire in Curzers in western Switzerland. Police say the fire broke out Tuesday evening in the canton of Fribourg, about 20 kilometers west of the Swiss capital Bern. 3 of the injured were taken to hospital with severe burns, while 2 others were treated at the scene. Authorities say early evidence suggests the blaze may have been caused by a deliberate act by someone on board the bus. A criminal investigation is now underway as officials work to determine the exact cause of the deadly fire. Russian strikes have killed 4 people and wounded at least 16 others in the eastern Ukrainian city of Sloviansk, regional authorities said. The city lies in the Donetsk region, a key frontline area where Russian forces have intensified attacks during the ongoing war with Ukraine. Officials said the strikes involved 3 guided aerial bombs that damaged residential buildings and destroyed several vehicles. Images released by Ukrainian police showed burnt-out cars and a heavily damaged Soviet-era apartment block following the attack. Russia, which launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, says it does not target civilians and claims the Donetsk region is part of its territory. Jose Antonio Cast is swearing in as Chile's president on March 11, becoming the country's most right-wing leader in more than 3 decades. The conservative politician won the election after pledging a tougher approach to rising violent crime and stricter immigration policies. Cast has vowed to deport hundreds of thousands of undocumented migrants, many of them from crisis-hit Venezuela. A longtime lawmaker and founder of the Republican Party Chile, he has also drawn attention for strongly conservative views on issues such as abortion and same-sex marriage. His presidency begins as Chile, once considered one of Latin America's most stable countries, faces growing public concern over security and migration. Meanwhile, outgoing Chilean President Gabriel Boric delivered his final speech from the La Moneda Palace, pledging a seamless transition of power ahead of Jose Antonio Cast's inauguration. Boric urged unity and stability as the country prepares to shift to its most right-wing government in over 3 decades.
Pese a las tensiones de las últimas semanas y a partir de las conversaciones que he podido tener con quien mañana asumirá esta responsabilidad de la presidencia de la República, les aseguro.
Cast, who won a platform of tougher security measures and strict immigration policies, takes office amid debate over Chile's direction on social and economic issues. Dan Jorgensen, the European Union's energy chief, has urged member states to consider lowering taxes on electricity to help reduce consumer energy bills. Speaking at the European Parliament in Strasbourg, he said there is huge potential to ease costs if governments are able to cut energy taxes.
We have a very clear recommendation to the member states. If you are at all able to lower taxes on energy, especially on electricity, there is a huge potential. In average, the potential for energy bills in Europe would be a saving of €200 per year by lowering the taxes.
Jorgensen's comments come as global oil and gas prices rise due to tensions and conflict in the Middle East, raising concerns about higher energy bills across European Union countries.
Wednesday marks 15 years since the Great East Japan earthquake devastated Japan's northeast, triggering a massive tsunami and one of the world's worst nuclear accidents at the Fukushima Daiichi plant. The magnitude 9.0 quake on March 11, 2011 swept waves over 10 meters high across the region, killing 19,711 people and leaving 2,519 missing. Since then, the Japanese government has invested over 41 trillion yen, around $260 billion in reconstruction, including roads, ports, seawalls, and land-raising projects. Despite these efforts, more than 26,000 households in Iwate, Miyagi, and Fukushima still live in temporary public housing, many of them elderly and isolated. As Japan enters a third reconstruction and revitalization period, officials plan to focus on mental health and community rebuilding, even as concerns grow about the long-term sustainability of recovery efforts. Hundreds of pounds of luxury ingredients including caviar, black truffle, sushi, and tomahawk steak have been flown into Hollywood ahead of the annual Academy Awards after party this Sunday. The lavish celebration, known as the Governor's Ball, will host newly crowned Oscar winners and other A-list celebrities after the ceremony. Celebrity chef Wolfgang Puck, who has overseen the event's menu for more than 3 decades, says his team will prepare around 25,000 small plates for guests. The menu includes dishes ranging from sushi and macaroni and cheese to premium steaks alongside champagne, sake, and specialty cocktails. Guests will also be served thousands of chocolate desserts shaped like the iconic Oscar trophy as they celebrate Hollywood's biggest night. Penguins at Edinburgh Zoo have been delighting in colourful pebbles painted by children from the Royal Hospital for Children and Young People, marking the start of the birds' breeding season. During this period, penguins collect pebbles to build nests, an essential part of raising their chicks. The initiative allowed young patients to watch the penguins select and play with the stones in real time via a live webcam, bringing the animals closer to the hospital. The activity was organised by the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland as part of its educational and community engagement programs. Such interactive experiences help teach children about animal behavior and conservation while offering a fun and therapeutic connection to wildlife.
Undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Feva Lake. Boating in Feva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Feva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchri on the lake and fishing spice up the Feva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Feva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Phewa Lake exits towards Sethi River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra Cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish of Begnas Lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa Lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas Lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa Lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous White Monastery on top of the hill above Phewa Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's-eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Phewa Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing. The Bindabasini temple in Pokhara is a famous shrine in Nepal. The best route to visit the temple is on the way to Sarankot. Devotees throng the Bindabasini temple, which is atop a small hill with panoramic view of Pokhara city. The Bindabasini temple is famous among the Hindus across the country. Sarankot is a hill station on top of a hill on the northwestern side of Pokhara. A must-go place to see the majestic Mount Machapuchre and Mount Dhaulagiri in the Annapurna range in front of the eyes, and also the Pokhara and Leknath cities on the other side. Sarankot is synonymous to paragliding in Nepal. Taking off from the Sarankot hill, one can enjoy the panoramic mountain range in addition to the bird's eye view of Pokhara city. Ultralight and zip flyer offer a thrill to adventure seekers in Pokhara and are becoming major interests for tourists. Other places including Swarak in Sangja have the potential to be world's best place for paragliding. First time in Nepal, Paragliding Accuracy World Cup was held at this place, situated at Mahapur of Virkot municipality of the district. The place drew global attention after the event. Pokhara, famous tourism destination of the country. Majority of locals engaged in tourism industry. The city of lakes and caves, hub of aviation sports. Some major destinations: Lakeside, Phewa Lake and Tal Barahi Temple, Begnas and Rupa Lakes, Mahendra Gufa. Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna Range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
Welcome to NTV World Insight, a space where we explore ideas shaping Nepal's future. On today's episode, it's a pleasure to have with us a remarkable leader whose work sits at the intersection of education, public, health, governance and social transformation. Dr. S.P. Colony is the chairperson of the Association of International NGOs in Nepal and a lifelong educator and advocate for equitable development. His journey spans classrooms, remote health posts, global partnerships, and some of Nepal's most critical policy debates. Dr. Colony, welcome to NTV World Insight.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Your experience and engagement extends through so many sectors. What's keeping you a lot busy these days?
Well, a lot of things. My work at Blink Now Foundation, where we do a lot of education work, providing quality education to the children from the most marginalized communities. My work at AIN, as you said, Association of International NGOs in Nepal, and of course some volunteer work in different non-profit organizations.
You started teaching at a very young age and have since worked in education, health and civil society leadership sector as well. What would you say is the moment that actually profoundly shaped your philosophy in development?
Yeah, very good question. I wouldn't say a moment. There have been moments and also, I think, different experiences of my life. My most profound impact in my life has been from my father. My dad was a very hardworking person. I never saw him sit idle, and he'd always say, you work hard, you can have a good life, and also you can also support other people. And that, I think, had a profound impact in my life to start working as a working professional early on. But then I also lost my father at early age, and to a disease which we could not get diagnosed. And we didn't have good healthcare system at that point of time. We had to take him to India, where still he did not survive. And so that was a sad experience in my life. But then I encountered so many such situations with other people. But then I also got to learn that the similar situation does not exist in other parts of the world. There are many good healthcare facilities. There's a good quality care for people from the health institution to the households. So I said, why not to see what we can do in Nepal? And so I got into education initially, but in healthcare sector. And thankfully, we got to establish some good model of healthcare system in the country. The health institutions that have provided care to many people, 1.5 million people, a good quality care free of cost in the rural setup. So been blessed with all those outcomes, but at the same time, the shaping of life. I think there are moments in life, but also it's a journey. You get to learn at different stages in your life. So I would name my father as someone who has influenced me the most.
That definitely sounds like something that fueled your passion towards this sector. And you, on your own place, have done as much as you can. But how do we scale this so that we can make a bigger impact? How have you viewed our overall health sector? There's investment from government as well. I'm not sure if it's adequate or not. What's your observation been so far?
It is certainly not adequate, but I think we've made very good progress in health sector in the last couple of decades. Whether you talk about the maternal mortality rate, reducing infant mortality rate, or even the life expectancy overall has increased. But there's a disproportionate impact in the health of more vulnerable people when it comes to the disease or other kind of epidemic and pandemics that we face. So what we still need to work on is how we can make the health system functional. We've got a very good structure in place from the health institutions at the grassroots level in the community, like primary health centers, municipal hospitals, to the tertiary care hospitals. Our problem is how we make them functional, how we resource them, how we equip them, how we regulate them, how we monitor and evaluate, and how we improve the quality of care. So what we have done is not impossible to do. It is doable, and it is as per the vision of Nepal government. Nepal said that we want to reduce the out-of-pocket expenses, we want to improve the quality of care, and we of course want to make it accessible for every citizen, and that's exactly what we did. And it is doable. So scaling needs a willpower, a strong leadership and governance, but of course we need to increase the resources. Health sector doesn't have enough resource allocated in this country. If you look at the global data, forget about the outlier like the USA. Even if you take the average number, we are nearly 15% below the average public sector investment in health sector, which means that Nepal needs to increase public sector investment, but also we need to work on making the system functional, which also has the managerial aspects, making supply chain work, and also supply of human resources and so on. So if we can make the existing public system really functional, quality, I think people can access quality care at their nearest place.
In the past few decades, every decade we've witnessed some kind of movement that brought about political transformation. But have we managed to institutionalize those transformation, and have we seen some substantive impact in our socio-cultural setting and our standard of life, standard of education and health overall?
Well, that is, although it sounds a general question, but that's a very deep question, Sarah. I think institutionalization of any change is the most crucial step in leading change. So any change, whether it's organizational, social, or political, unless they are institutionalized, you cannot bear and experience the fruits of change in a sustainable manner. So what happens is, as the change takes place, you will see some of things happening parallelly. One, there will always be resistance to change. There will be actors who have probably benefited from the previous system and would want same kind of status quo. But then change has happened and it will be difficult for people to accept. And there will be slowness in implementation of any decisions. There will be forces applied to make sure that the change doesn't implement properly. And also there's going to be a situation where the system institutions are not strong enough to actually institutionalize the change. It could be the lack of human resource, it could be lack of skills to institutionalize those changes. And there's always going to be a situation where if there is a change in leadership, and in case of Nepal, frequent change in leadership, then the problem will arise where people may or may not take the full ownership of that change, which then gets into a dangerous situation of whether you are fully actually implementing the aspirations of the change or not. And therefore, I think what is really important is these aspirations are converted into behaviors, and these behaviors are then built into structures, and these structures are enforced and implemented properly. If that does not happen, there's always a risk of backsliding, which is then very unfortunate. But the most important thing and biggest risk is if this does not happen, if the institutionalization doesn't take place, then that can build frustration within the public, and that will then take to any course. You never know.
We are at present in a very vulnerable state. We're heading for an election, and we witnessed a major movement as well just recently with Gen Z protests, which I think we did so in other countries as well. Do you think this is a global phenomenon or just a generational thing that happens between every generation?
Well, there are, with every new generation, there are different kind of aspirations. You talk to the next generation, 10 years younger people than yourself. The whole thinking process pattern, the way you address any challenges you face, they're all different. It's so different. If I talk to my kids, they come up with completely different perspective, right? And at times it is difficult to fathom where did even they think and learn these things from, right? You don't even get to know that, understand it. So I think catching and addressing those generational aspirations is really important. If the leadership is not such far-sighted and capturing and trying to understand and addressing those aspirations of different generation, that can happen. Protests can happen based on different reasons, but when we're talking about one particular generation right now, there are certainly aspirations. It may be that, for you and me, something that this new generation is talking about is not as important as, the importance they give to the same thing. Recently, when the social media ban, probably the older generation, probably did not think that particular demand as important as the Gen Z thought it is. Has it become the part and parcel of life of people? And does it actually completely erode and affect the livelihood of people? So if we do not and cannot understand that, it becomes very difficult. Because even though you and I have willingness to address those, but the importance that we will give would not be as much as they would expect us to be doing, right? And therefore, I think it's really important that these new generations are not only understood and taken as the beneficiaries of what we do, but they are engaged in the conversations and made the partners in the process of finding solutions. I think that's really important. When that thing lacks, the protests like these are bound to happen. at times fail to understand the kind of wisdom the new generation brings and the kind of different approaches they look at the things and address. So I think it's really important to capture that.
How do you see, considering everything that is happening at present, the scenario unfolding in the next few months or year?
Well, the future is difficult to predict, of course. We hope as the government plans right now, the elections are held, and then the politics takes a new course. And of course, the aspirations the new generation has of accountability, the corruption-free society, these are taken seriously by all the actors, and the new government can address everything that even the current interim government cannot. And so that all the actors become part and parcel of this whole change process and take ownership. So one of the dangers, again, to add to your previous question, when you're leading change, one of the dangers is if the actors in the change process do not feel the ownership of the process that is moving forward, that again becomes dangerous. And therefore, the new generation, the next to Gen Z is going to come soon, right? So if these generations do not feel like we take ownership of what is happening, or we are participating in this whole process, that will create another danger. And therefore, I think it's really important. I hope that moving forward, the generation is going to take part in this whole process and take full ownership of how we move the things, because we need to come out of the emotions and sentiments alone. Of course, that's an important part of human life, but also we need to think about how we resolve the situations. For example, we talk about reduction or what do you call elevation of corruption. How do we do that? We need to come up with the concrete ideas and steps and implement them. And if things are not working, figure them out on a day-to-day basis. We really need to think about providing the solutions. So I hope that the new generation is actually looking at those things, not only expecting some other people to deliver on it and express their frustration, but be part of actually finding solutions, and they actually become those leaders to address the solutions. Whatever way they do, but their participation would really be important, I think.
Just to stretch on what you just said, what would be an ideal step-by-step thing that we could do to make sure all our financial activities of the government and everything is transparent and that we deal with corruption?
Well, when you talk about corruption, it sounds like it's a responsibility of government, right? It is, but that's not absolute answer, right? We are all responsible for creating a corruption-free society. How do we do that? It is easier to question people, question others. I mean, right now you will question people, whoever is in the government, and then tomorrow you're going to question the person, whoever next is in the government. And therefore, I think it is important, as we said earlier, about making change a culture. And how do we create a culture of no corruption? That will need to start from our families, from our institutions, from our communities, and so on. But then if the government does not take initiatives, does not create that kind of infrastructure and policy environment, then for the individuals and communities it becomes difficult. So it needs to be both the ways, but we should also think about it is our collective responsibility, right? It is not going to be, when we say step by step, what may easily come to our mind is, okay, have policy in place, enforce it, right? Have maybe a stronger punishment mechanism, and that's going to work. Of course it will. Well, that needs to happen. But then there's more steps that we need to take if we really want to get into that. So I'll just give you an example of, like, I think it was my first or second Europe visit. I was standing in at a store to buy a cell phone. Not cell phone, but the SIM card.
This is here in Nepal?
No, outside in Europe, in Finland.
Okay.
So I was struggling to get that SIM card inserted into the phone. It used to be non-digital at that time. So the shopkeeper actually helped me. It was maybe for a couple of minutes. I was standing there. I didn't even realize that there were like 50 people standing behind me. They were waiting patiently for their turn. And because they didn't make any sound, I didn't even notice there were people behind me. And I felt so ashamed that I was blocking them, getting my thing done. But then I also felt like, if it was in my community, maybe people would be shouting and pushing and, trying to get and grab and So, of course, you expect that the government makes and creates those rules and mechanisms, but unless I have my discipline of, performing, acting accordingly, my life becomes like that. Enforcement of law alone doesn't change, right? So I think it has to be both the ways. Of course, government will need to take very strong initiatives to control, but also we need to look at it from our individual and institutional perspectives.
Like they say, change starts from yourself.
Exactly. Yep, true.
Now, let's take a look at our education sector. There's clearly a divide since so many years, in fact, of private education and public education. We're clearly creating two different sorts of human resource. And then it ultimately culminates into sending two types of workforces as well. We're creating workforces, one for the Gulf nations that solely work to make a living, the other to the developed countries who either go there for education, higher education, or skilled jobs. Where are we lagging?
I think in your question, one of the biggest concern that underlines, I think, Sarah, is how do we avoid getting into the generational inequality, right? Which is a very big problem that will happen if we do not address it right now. Which means that you have you have a good wealth, you can afford good schools, your kids can go to good schools and they get better opportunities, and your kids' generation and their kids' generation, in the inequality with the kind of school they can afford and with those who cannot afford, that will continue. This generational inequality, that can cause another kind of conflict in the societies. So it is really important, your question of how do we address that gap. Well, we are in a world where I think you wouldn't be in a position to say that nationalize everything, governments should run all the schools, and then so all the private schools are shut down, and that's how you're gonna create equality. I think we've heard those kind of political, social, economic voices also, but that has not translated into reality. So what is the workable solution in that case? It's only that we improve the quality of public schools. It's only through improving the public school system that you can sort of like bridge that gap. What do you need to do? There are a lot of things. Invest in infrastructure, like healthcare we talked about. We need to improve the infrastructure of education. We need to continue to provide support to educators. With this recent change of federalism, there has again been the gap created where the school teachers feel there's lack of support system now than it used to be in the past, which is very unfortunate. So remember, like we had district education office, there were school inspectors that would go and provide support, do the monitoring and evaluation. So during this change process, there has been some gaps, and we have got this basic school system under the local government now. But we really need to empower the local government so that they can provide support and do the monitoring evaluation. If not, then the provinces need to take that role and provide that support to the school. So, like I said, improve infrastructure, also provide the support to the school educators, teachers, where it could be providing them refresher training, or also pedagogical support. How do you better teach the students so that they can learn better? And also a continuous monitoring and evaluation so that if you perform well, you get rewarded. A system of reward and punishment needs to be put in place. And that will help empower and improve our public education system. Then you can have public and private school providing similar quality of education, and you lessen that gap that we're talking about created by this.
Just a day ago, I had a conversation with World Bank's Division Director, David Sislin, and he mentioned something when I talked about remittance, how we receive a huge chunk of it, but we're not being able to properly utilize it so that we could materialize it into something productive. How do you see this whole thing?
No, I think that I would agree with him. One, we need to think about the people that are sending us the remittance to run this country, how can we actually systematize that, improve that, which means that how can we train people so that the trained human resource goes out, and if they actually need to go out and work outside, which should not be banned, but of course they can actually earn better, contribute better, and give back to the country better. And also then your question of how we better utilize the resource we get from their earning. So I think the revenue that we get through the remittance, it should not only be linked to the development of the country, it should also be linked to the what you call the senders, the remittance senders, their own pride. Right? This is what I have contributed to the country. Do you think any person who is in Gulf country earning money, sending money to this country, feels proud of sending that money here? Maybe he does, because he or she does, because they are able to take care of their families. But it could be converted into a sense where you say that your contribution has helped this country develop so much. We have created this infrastructure, we have created this development initiative. And so you take that ownership. And wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are in, whatever contribution you have made, if you feel like, oh, my contribution is actually, in fact, wherever I am, it is contributing towards development of my country, that would be much better. And so there can be some creative and innovative ways of utilizing that remittance, and also proper communication of how it is being used to those people who are contributing is equally important, I think, so that they can feel proud.
There's so much to do to develop our country, of course, but it feels almost like we are in a state of stagnancy at the moment because of the political changes that have happened recently. How do we go about creating good quality jobs for people so that we can retain the quality human resource?
Well, I think it's a multifaceted approach that we need to take. One, we need to focus on what's available in this country, what can actually be grown. For example, the potential that we have. It could be agriculture, it could be tourism, it could be hydroelectricity, or whatever potential that we have. How we harness that, and any job creation. Any innovation, if we can link that with our potential of this country, that's one thing we need to look at. That will help us grow the number of jobs. And second, we need to focus on the training, the kind of training we provide. How can we create and provide the vocational training or technical training so that our production can actually think about, all right, so 1,000 megawatt of electricity produced from this particular river. So entire human resource we do, and we invest, and then we create everything, right? So I think it is important to look at the skill set of individuals, and at the same time we should also look at the potential that we have in this country. A good match of that will really be helpful. And also I think we have an opportunity of Nepali diaspora outside, really skilled people, very smart people, and they could come back and work, they could invest and help. So there's a lot of potential that we can actually work on.
Dr. Koloni, as chair of AIN, you've spoken about regulatory frameworks that risk constraining the civil society. What, in your view, is the ideal balance between accountability and freedom of NGOs in Nepal?
Right. So I think we have to have a balance of two things. One, there has to be high freedom. Another, high accountability. If we put them together, you asked about balance, I think it's a balance of freedom and accountability, and that actually is going to create a healthy civil society. So what does that mean? That means that the civil society organizations are given freedom of association, freedom of expression, freedom of advocacy, freedom of contributing into the legal process or lawmaking process in the country, so all of that. But at the same time have a space for their self-regulatory mechanism. But at the same time, the organizations are accountable towards their own process, whether it is about auditing system, delivering impact on the areas that they have selected to work in. So if we can create that balance, and the state considers the civil society organizations as partners, thinking that how can we go together and co-create some of the innovative ideas, because civil society organizations have a high potential to generate innovative ideas because they work in a limited space, even though it's an investment of a small resource. But then with the kind of scope of work they have, new innovations can come. So if the state can treat the civil society organizations as the partners, and there is that balance of freedom and accountability, that creates a balanced and prosperous civil society.
Mm-hmm. You've helped advance integrated digital health records in Nepal, especially in rural areas. What is needed, you think, to scale such innovations nationwide within government systems?
Oh, yeah. So we need multiple things. For example, you need a strong leadership, you need a vision, you need finances, you need infrastructure, all of these things. But at the same time, in terms of adoption of innovation, there's a lot of literature that talks about innovation adoption takes place in phases. There are people who innovate, right? So they own and they adopt it well. And there are people who will quickly adopt the innovation and new ideas, new technology, and will start utilizing it. Mm-hmm. There are, they call early majority. There will be people following that. There are late majority people who will come slowly to adopt it. And there are laggards, people who need to be dragged along, right? So whenever we talk about innovation, there are going to be different kinds of people. We need to bear that in mind. But at the same time, that's also a change process, like we spoke earlier about political change or other. So in any innovation, that's a change process. So how do you create a sense of urgency that we need this particular new technology? When we did Nepal EHR, so of course, there was a lot of resistance, you can imagine. Of course, there was a support from the government side that we need to do, but there was not enough resource. We were able to put that together. And then there's a human aspect of, as I said, how do you adopt innovation? So you need to change behavior. If you are a person, you like technology, still if you are used to it, writing on the paper, it's going to take time for you to start, typing on the computer. So how do you bring those people on board? For me, what was the biggest motivator when we looked at the whole process was the impact generated by the technology itself. For example, I'll just give you an example of, you have the whole patient history recorded on the computer, on the digital system. And that entire process initially feels like burdensome for the person doing that work. Because instead of writing on the register, you are typing everything. If you're not used to it, it's going to take some time. But then the patient comes for follow-up, just hit a click, everything is there, right? So I feel like, oh, wow.
It's rewarding.
Exactly. So that's the kind of reward. You see that in your experience. And then you start loving it. It just helps. It is not, again, like what we need to think about. It's not about replacing paper by computers. It is about how we use technology to improve care delivery. So in terms of scale, to your question, I think we need to work on infrastructure, which is improving gradually. Government needs to prioritize. We already have a strategy in place. And there needs to be a steady, stable government with the vision that we are going to be doing this within a certain period of time. It'll get done. You'll get a lot of support.
Change is a gradual process. There will be resistance, but there are also rewards.
Oh, yes.
But one step at a time.
One step at a time, exactly.
Dr. Koloni, it's always so good to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for being on NTV World Insight.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here. Always good to talk to you. So, thank you.
And thank you too for watching our program. Do join us on our social media pages and also visit our official website nepaltelevision.com for more news and information. Until next time.
The number of devotees collectively chanting, admiring and understanding these holy chants has reached 2 billion all across the world now. This implies that the population following Buddhism is increasing by the day. Buddhism rests upon the principle that one must be empathetic, kind, and exonerate towards all living beings. Love, brotherhood, and mutual harmony is the only way towards peace at present, when the whole world is entangled within warfare, fighting, and conflicts. Anyone seeking for peace can find it within themselves on internalizing the words and messages of Gautama Buddha. Gautama Buddha, also known as the Light of Asia, established himself as the preacher of Buddhism and enlightened the whole world with his message of peace, awareness, kindness, and wisdom. Buddha sacrificed his whole life urging for the need of truth, justice, and altruistic feeling within mankind. Gautama Buddha was born in Lumbini. It lies in the western part of Nepal in Rupandehi districts of the Lumbini zone. Lumbini has been protected under the World Cultural Heritage Site since 1997 AD. In the year 1896, the then senior officer of Palpa, Kharga Shamsher, and German expert Dr. A. Fuharer jointly carried out the work of archaeological excavation and investigation of Lumbini. After some period, archaeologists located the commemorative Ashok pillar erected by King Ashok of India during ancient period. With such facts coming in front, Lumbini caught attention of the people all around the world. Among the most significant heritages of Lumbini are Ashok Pillar and Mayadevi Temple. It is believed that Mayadevi gave birth to Siddhartha Gautam in 623 BC at the very spot where the temple is located at present. The then Mayadevi temple, however, remains only in the pictures and in imaginations. Renovation and repair works have already changed the original structure of the temple. Nevertheless, with the new structure, this temple has embraced a divine outlook in it. Not only the temple, but the whole Lumbini region is in the process of planned reconstruction and development. The visit of the then General Secretary of the United Nations Organization, U Thant, in the year 1967 brought together the notion of Lumbini Area Development Project. Under a master plan of the Japanese archaeologist Professor Kenzo Tange, the project was initiated in the year 1978. Lumbini Area Development Project Master Plan spreads in the area of 3 miles. Major attraction of this project is the Ashoka pillar near to Mayadevi temple is believed to have been erected by King Ashoka in 249 BC during the 21st year of his enthronement. The Utkirna stone inscription engraved in this pillar in Brahmi script is a historical proof that Lord Gautama Buddha was born here. This is the most reliable historical and archaeological archive to learn about the birthplace of Lord Buddha as well as to explore Lumbini itself. A 5-stanza writing of 90 words written in Brahmi script, the first script that Buddha learned, is engraved in this pillar. Archaeologist Dr. A. Fuhara verified the writing In the northern side of the Holy Garden, towards the center, lies the eternal peace flame, the peace bell, and a 3-kilometer long and 16-meter wide canal. One can also view the World Peace Pagoda from here. The canal divides the whole area into 2 sections. Towards the eastern monasteries, 13 plots are designated to Thur Buddhist and 29 plots are allocated to Mahayani Buddhist in the western monasteries. In eastern region, various countries and Thur Buddhist organizations have constructed a number of monasteries following their native architectural texture. Myanmar, Sri Lankan, Indian, Cambodian and Thai government, including Nepalese, have constructed stupas and guest houses in these areas following the agreement with Lumbini Development Trust. Similarly, most of the western plots have been occupied with similar stupas, monasteries, guest houses and meditation centers constructed by various organizations or Government of Nepal, China, Vietnam, France, Japan, Austria, Bhutan and Mongolia, among other nations. In these monasteries, Buddhists perform their regular worship, enchantments and meditations according to their own customs. In the northern side of the new Lumbini village area is the 41.5 meter long and 49 meter cylindrical World Peace Pagoda. Fujiguru of Japan is said to have constructed similar pagodas in different locations all over the world during his journey of finding peace. World Peace Pagoda was designed by Japanese architect Dr. Minoru Ohuka. This pagoda came into operation since 1995. Built in traditional Japanese design, the upper part of this pagoda holds metallic artifacts exhibiting the birth of Lord Buddha. Lumbini Museum and Lumbini International Research Center are other important places to visit once one reaches Lumbini. These buildings, constructed in pagoda style, portray an architectural masterpiece in themselves. Inside Lumbini Museum, the archaeological remains found during the excavation of Lumbini area are preserved inside a large hall. One can easily gather information about the birthplace of Lord Buddha and the then contemporary society and culture exploring these heritages. Within the building, designed by Professor Kenzi Tange himself, Lumbini International Research Center has been established. More than 3,500 research materials and texts on Buddha, Buddhism, history, philosophy, knowledge and teachings of Buddha can be found here. For the visitors' comfort, the center has provided the facility to read texts on different languages, including Sanskrit, Chinese, Japanese, Turkmen, Burmese, Thai, Nepali, and Nepal languages. This palace is located around 27 kilometers far from Lumbini. Lord Buddha, as the prince, spent 29 years of his life in this palace. Prince Siddhartha Gautama abandoned the royal livelihood in search of Mahanirvana, or enlightenment. In the year 1898 AD, Indian archaeologist P.C. Mukherjee, following the description of Chinese traveller Hu Yan Sanga, and unveiled the unknown facts about Tilaura after his 4 months-long research and excavation works. He mentioned that the Tilaura Palace stretched in the area of 1,700 feet north-south and 1,300 feet east-west direction, was surrounded by walls up to 8 to 12 feet. The main entrance gate had Buddha stupas and monasteries in both the sides. All these buildings are under excavation and protection at present. Mukherjee has also maintained that King Suddhodana ruled his kingdom from the same palace. Hence, no doubt remains on the fact that the present Tilaura was ancient Kapilvastu. Archaeological debris as well as ancient palace and east-west entrance constructed since 4th century BC to 2nd century BC can be observed vividly now as well. Another historical site of Lumbini is Kudan, also known as Lauri Kudan, around 28 kilometers southwest of Lumbini. Myths have it that Lord Gautama Buddha met his father King Suddhodana at this very spot for the first time on returning to his hometown Kapilvastu after attaining enlightenment. Others say Prajapati Gautami, Gautam Buddha's foster mother, handed him Kayas Vastra at this place. Some others also claim that at this very site, Gautama Buddha's son Rahul transformed into Buddhism and turned a saint. Inscription held the existence of 4 walls and 1 buried well at this place. However, only 3 walls can be seen at present. According to Dewala Mitra, on the southern side of this lies one rectangular wall, and another wall has a snake temple on the top of it. In the largest wall, located at northeast direction, idol of Lord Shiva and the remains of other idols can be seen at the top. "500 meters north of King Suddhodana's palace lay 2 stupas. Experts say these stupas are the graves of King Suddhodana and his queen Maya Devi. The largest stupa has the area of 52 feet and is 75 feet high, whereas the smaller one has the area of 26 feet. The largest stupa is said to be constructed in the 4th century BC and was reconstructed 3 times during the 2nd and the 1st century BC. Similarly, the smaller stupa is believed to have been constructed in between the 2nd and the 1st century BC. Devadaha, that lies in Bhawanipur of Rupandehi, is said to be the maternal home of Siddhartha Gautama. Inscriptions say that Siddhartha Gautam spent 7 years of his childhood in Devadaha. Also, it is believed that he, upon attaining enlightenment, paid a visit to Devadaha. Devadaha is also popularly regarded as the maternal home of Queen Maya Devi, Queen Prajapati, and Princess Yasodhara. 10 idols are established in a single row in the eastern wall. However, the structure of all other idols besides one of the sun god in the center is unclear. This place, serving as an open museum, still needs a rigorous research and study to explore more about Kolia Kingdom. Ramgram Monastery has been constructed in the sidelines of Jharahi River towards 4 kilometers southeast of Parasi of Nawalparasi district. 7 meters in height, this monastery was constructed, establishing 1 metallic remains of Lord Buddha in its base. This monastery is one among the 8 monasteries constructed worldwide with the metallic remains in their base. This monastery was constructed upon the order of the king of Ramgram. He was the 8th king to receive the remains of Lord Buddha. Buddhist religious texts say that King Ashoka was in his mission of collecting remains of Lord Buddha from all 8 monasteries to construct the 84,000 stupas. But he was not allowed to extort the remains of Lord Buddha from Ramgram Monastery. Around 9 kilometers north from Tilaurakot lies a pond named Sagarwa or Lambu Sagar. The pond has high significance with regard to its archaeological value. This pond is popularly recognized as the spot where Koshal rural king Naresh Birudhak killed the thousands of Shakyas at the same time during the 5th century BC. Inscriptions have it that this pond extends 1,059 feet towards the length and 225 feet towards the breadth and was discovered in 1895 AD. However, only few remains and a mark of the pond can be traced here at present. Gotihawa is renowned as the birthplace of Manushi Krakuchandra Buddha. It is also said that Krakuchandra Buddha met his father at the very place after attaining nirvana. Debris of Ashoka pillar, ancient well, bricks and other remains can be retrieved in the buried form from here. Major Wada and P.C. Mukherjee excavated Gotihawa in 1895 AD and mentioned that Krakuchandra Buddha was born here. Aurora Court is an ancient town situated 8 kilometers northeast of Taulihawa. Aurora Court is regarded as the location of Kanak Muni Buddha, but scientific research is necessary to trace further facts of this town. Meanwhile, manuscripts have it that Niglihawa, 7 kilometers far in the northern side of Taulihawa, is the birthplace of Kanak Muni Buddha. It is the same place where he got enlightenment. They also say that archaeologist Dr. Fuhara discovered inscriptions in ancient stupas at this very place. In the western side of Nigli Sagar, one of the Ashoka pillars can be seen in 2 pieces. In an inscription written in Brahmi script, Pali language, it is mentioned that King Ashoka erected this pillar when he reached Kapilvastu. When he reached Kapilvastu Lumbini during the 3rd century BC. King Ashoka was said to be in pilgrimage. These pillars, 15 feet long, have engraved figure of peacock in one of the pillar and another has Om Mani Padme Hum carved in it. This holy land of Buddha has a large number of places and objects of historical and archaeological importance. Many are still under the grave of Mother Earth, left to be extracted and excavated. After watching this documentary about Holy Land of Lord Buddha, you need not reach far to realize peace. Reaching this sacred birthplace of Lord Buddha will be enough to experience eternal peace. This holy land is the source of world peace. Lumbini is the center of serenity and harmony among all the people in the world. World Cultural Heritage Site and Shakya sage Gautama Buddha's birthplace is a precious gift for the whole world.
Countries around the world are rolling out emergency measures as tensions in the Middle East begin to strain global fuel supplies. Disruptions to tanker traffic through the Hormuz Strait have pushed oil prices higher, forcing some governments to ration fuel, shorten work weeks and search for alternative supplies. At the same time, new trade data, corporate earnings and shifting consumer trends are offering a broader picture of how the global economy is navigating uncertainty. Hello, I'm Siksha Bhattrai and this is World Business Weekly. Here's a look at some of the business stories from around the world. Countries across parts of Asia and Africa are introducing emergency measures to cope with rising fuel costs and possible shortages. The pressure comes as disruptions to tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz push global oil prices higher and tighten supply for energy importing economies. Governments across Asia and beyond are rolling out a range of adaptive measures to contain the impact of surging oil prices triggered by conflict in the Middle East. The countries predominantly importing crude oil from the Gulf regions are announcing measures to fuel efficiency. The crisis has been intensified by disruptions around the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow but vital shipping corridor through which roughly a fifth of the world's crude oil passes. Concerns over tanker traffic in the region have pushed crude prices over $100 a barrel, forcing governments to act quickly to stabilize domestic fuel markets. In South Asia's Bangladesh, which imports about 95% of its oil and gas from the Gulf, authorities have introduced fuel rationing and deployed security forces to major depots and filling stations. Schools have been closed, classes moved online, and decorative light displays cancelled in an effort to conserve energy. Neighbouring Pakistan has unveiled sweeping fuel efficiency measures after raising fuel prices by around 20%. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced that the government offices except banks will move to a 4-day work week with half of public employees working from home to reduce fuel consumption. Fuel allowances for official vehicles have also been cut and overseas travel by officials restricted. Amid the scarcity, India seems relatively untouched as it imports almost half of its crude oil from Russia and remains resolute despite US President Donald Trump's sanctions. India has begun sending around 5,000 metric tons of diesel to Bangladesh through the Bangladesh-India Friendship Pipeline, strengthening cross-border energy cooperation as markets remain volatile. Elsewhere in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has ordered a 4-day government work week to reduce fuel consumption. Authorities have also warned against hoarding and are monitoring petrol stations as prices rise. Vietnam is also exploring policy changes to cushion consumers, including plans to scrap tariffs on fuel imports and remove duties on several petroleum products to help stabilize supply. In Myanmar, the military government has introduced strict conservation measures, ordering private vehicles off the roads on alternating days based on license plate numbers to preserve limited fuel stocks. In China, the authorities raised the largest retail fuel price in 4 years. Petrol and diesel ceiling prices rose nationwide, adding roughly $3.75 to a 50-liter tank. Refineries are being used to prioritize domestic supply to stabilize the market and ensure sufficient fuel for consumers. Whereas in Hong Kong, airlines are beginning to pass on rising costs to travelers. Hong Kong Airlines has announced higher passenger fuel surcharges on both the long-haul and regional flights as aviation fuel prices climb. Outside Asia, some countries are focusing on securing supply. In Nigeria, the Dangote mega refinery has pledged to prioritize the domestic market to prevent fuel shortages and limit the impact of rising global prices. With tensions in the Middle East continuing to unsettle global oil markets, governments across several regions are racing to conserve fuel, stabilize prices, and protect their economies from a widening energy shock. Meanwhile, new trade data is offering a different signal from Asia. Exports from China surged in the first 2 months of the year despite tariff tensions with the United States, supported by strong demand for electronics and manufactured goods.
China's exports surged in the first 2 months of this year despite trade tensions with the US. Official figures show export jumped by more than 20% in January and February, which is almost 3 times the rate predicted by economists. It puts the country on track to top the record-breaking annual trade surplus it saw in 2025. The announcement comes as US President Donald Trump is expected to visit China in early April to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. The world's second-largest economy is heavily reliant on exports as it faces a number of issues including weak consumer spending, a shrinking population, and a property market crisis.
Elsewhere in Asia, India has reached a significant economic milestone. The country has overtaken Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy, although analysts say challenges such as employment and income inequality remain.
India overtook Japan to become the world's fourth largest economy, marking a major milestone in the country's rapid economic expansion. However, the benefits of growth remain uneven, with millions of people still struggling to secure stable and well-paid jobs. The rise reflects years of strong economic performance driven by domestic consumption, infrastructure investment, and a growing services sector. Government officials have highlighted the milestone as evidence of the country's increasing global economic influence. Despite the achievement, concerns remain about whether the growth is translating into improved living standards across the country, particularly in rural areas. While India's economy continues to expand rapidly, challenges such as unemployment, income inequality, and rural development must be addressed to ensure the gains from growth are more widely shared.
Also in South Asia, disruptions are affecting the region's manufacturing supply chains. Garment shipments from Bangladesh and India are strained after flight cancellations through Gulf transit hubs, affecting retailers, including the Inditex.
Garment shipments for major retailers, including Zara owner Inditex, are stranded at airports in Bangladesh and India, as Middle East conflict has forced airlines such as Emirates and Qatar Airways to cancel flights. South Asia is a major clothing manufacturing hub, supplying global fast fashion brands with items such as t-shirts, dresses, and jeans. Shovon Islam, managing director of Sparrow Group, said several of his company's consignments are stuck at Dhaka airport. The shipments were scheduled to reach the United Kingdom via Dubai, but the suspension of operations there has created significant logistical challenges. Much of South Asia depends on Gulf carriers to transport air cargo, with more than half of Bangladesh's shipments and about 41% of India's passing through the Gulf hubs.
In the energy sector, corporate results are reflecting uncertainty in global oil markets. Oil giant Saudi Aramco reported a decline in annual profit, citing higher global supply and economic headwinds.
Saudi Aramco on Tuesday reported a 12.1% decline in net income for 2025, citing higher global oil supply, economic uncertainty, and the impact of trade measures such as US tariffs that weighed on revenues. The state-owned oil giant said the downturn reflects challenging conditions in global energy markets, where increased production and slower economic growth have pressured crude prices and profit margins across the industry. The company also manages significant production sites such as the Ceiba oil field in the Rub al Khali Desert and one of the world's largest oil export terminals and refineries in Ras Tanura. Despite the drop in annual profit, the company said it remains focused on maintaining production capacity and investing in energy infrastructure to meet global demand.
In another development involving natural resources, Washington has taken a step involving Venezuela's mining sector. The United States issued a license allowing transactions with the state-owned gold mining company Minerven, while restricting contracts with companies linked to several geopolitical rivals.
The United States on Friday issued a license allowing transactions with Venezuela's state-owned gold mining company Minerven, signaling the Trump administration's intention to expand its influence over the country's natural resources. The authorization followed a visit by U.S. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum to Venezuela, where he met acting President Delcy Rodriguez and representatives from more than 24 U.S. mining and mineral firms, many of which previously operated in the country. Burgum said Venezuelan authorities had provided security assurances to companies considering investment in mineral-rich regions that have long been controlled by guerrilla groups, gangs, and other illegal actors. The license also prohibits individuals and companies companies from Russia, Iran, North Korea, and Cuba from entering into contracts with Minervan.
Meanwhile, in Asia, countries are strengthening economic cooperation. Singapore and South Korea have agreed to upgrade their free trade agreement, expanding collaboration in digital trade, artificial intelligence, and supply chains.
Singapore and South Korea have agreed to upgrade their existing free trade agreement, expanding cooperation in areas including supply chain resilience, trade facilitation, and aviation maintenance, repair, and overhaul. The agreement was among 6 deals exchanged during the state visit of South Korean President Lee Jae-myung to Singapore at the invitation of President Tharman Shanmugaratnam. During talks with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, both sides agreed to explore deeper cooperation in artificial intelligence, digital policy, and cybersecurity. The leaders said the upgrade of the Korea-Singapore Free Trade Agreement, which entered into force 20 years ago, would ensure it remains relevant amid changes in the global trading environment, including the growing focus on digital trade and green transition efforts. Additional agreements include joint research and talent exchanges in advanced manufacturing and other high-value technology sectors, as well as collaboration in studying the potential of nuclear energy. The visit also highlighted expanding people-to-people ties following the elevation of bilateral relations to a strategic partnership last year.
In the technology sector, executive compensation is drawing attention. The chief executive of Alphabet Inc., Sundar Pichai, could earn up to $692 million under a new compensation package tied largely to company stock performance.
The CEO of Google and its parent company Alphabet could earn up to $692 million over the next 3 years under a new compensation plan published Friday by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The deal would make Sundar Pichai, who has been chief executive of Google since 2015 and of Alphabet since 2019, one of the highest paid CEOs in the world. Under the plan, Pichai's 3-year salary of $6 million or $2 million per year would remain unchanged. The remainder of his compensation would be paid in the form of Alphabet stock as well as shares in 2 subsidiaries, the autonomous vehicle company Waymo and the drone delivery service Wing. The SEC filing suggested Pichai could receive about $130 million from Waymo and $45 million from Wing. The allocation will depend on the performance of the shares and for Alphabet on the amount of dividends paid.
At the consumer level in China, spending patterns are also shifting. Shoppers in Shanghai are increasingly turning to second-hand stores and resale platforms as slower wage growth and the property downturn weigh on household spending.
Budget-conscious shoppers in Shanghai are increasingly turning to second-hand stores as slower wage growth and a prolonged property crisis weigh on household spending. Shops such as Green Cycle, located in a shopping mall basement, sell used clothing and household goods at significantly reduced prices, reflecting a broader shift in consumer behavior in the world's second-largest economy. Online resale platforms including Shanyu and Zhuanzhuan have also expanded rapidly, with Shanyu operating physical outlets across China. The trend comes as Chinese leaders gather in Beijing for the annual 2 sessions policy meetings, where measures to boost domestic consumption are expected to be discussed. Despite record domestic travel during the recent Lunar New Year holiday, per capita tourism spending remained below pre-pandemic levels, highlighting continued caution among consumers.
And in West Africa, cocoa farmers say they are facing growing financial pressure. Producers in Ghana and Ivory Coast report falling prices and delayed payments despite strong global demand for chocolate.
Cocoa farmers in West Africa are facing growing financial hardship despite the sharp rise in global chocolate prices over the past year as falling cocoa prices and payment delays leave many producers without income. In Ghana and Ivory Coast, which together produce the majority of the world's cocoa, farmers say they have not been paid for months after local buying companies struggle to sell their crops on the international market. The crisis follows a sharp surge in global cocoa prices in 2024, driven by poor harvests and supply shortages. However, prices have since fallen significantly as global production improved and demand weakened. Chocolate manufacturers have also reduced cocoa use and shrunk product sizes after high ingredient costs.
Those were some of the business developments reported from around the world this week. From emerging markets to trade, corporate strategy and consumer trends, the stories reflect the different forces shaping the global economy. For World Business Weekly on NTV World, I am Siksha Bhattrai. Thank you for watching.
It's early in the morning at the Three Hills village at the wildlife reserve area known as Buronga at Babati district in Manyara region. Mama Simba starts her new busy day with her daily responsibilities. This is a tradition which she carries day by day throughout the week from Monday to Friday. After preparing breakfast for the children, Mama Simba walks the children to school. The school is about half a kilometer from their home. The availability of the community living at this area has managed to create the cohabitation, interaction between wildlife and humans. Mdori Primary School is one of the schools that have benefited with various development projects of which are a product of tourism revenue at the Buronga area. Not only within the education sector, such as schools alone, are benefiting from the tourism at the community living within the wildlife reserve area at Buronga, but also health sector, of which both sectors cater social services. Mama Simba is one of the main beneficiaries of the tourism activities within the area and the sector as a whole by being provided with entrepreneurial skills, not only to her personally, but other women within her community. All these efforts have been delivered by the investors who had rented the touristic areas within the wildlife reserved area at Buronga, so as to make sure that the community within the area do benefit through the investment.
I've benefited a lot, I can say, through tourism as a whole. First, I've been able to get an entrepreneurial education, and this has helped me in business management. We are taught something called value chain. The value chain is where it starts and where it ends. So we have been able to get that education, and this has helped me a lot on the business side. I've learned how to do business, what communication skills to use, and when doing business, there is business competition, and how to survive business competition. For example, I'm doing this type of business and there's someone else doing the same business. How should I do it so that I can attract more customers and be different from others? I've been able to learn various methods to be able to do that. Buronga has investors such as Chemchem, Kibo, and many more investors in the wildlife area. I got most of the wildlife knowledge through them. That education has helped me in good governance studies. We have been taught that if you see an animal, you should not think of meat but value in terms of money. We have benefited through our handicrafted products, and we need to protect our forest, because if our forest is invaded and trees used for handmade products are cut down, we would not have other ways to make an income out of handmade products.
Investment of various business activities within Buronga area has helped out in charting ways for the employment market, especially to youth and local traditional groups in entertainment and creativity. Mama Simba is one of the group member and a leader of the traditional dance group and arts known as Chemchem. And this involves the Maasai and Wambungwe, who are the natives within the area. In order to make sure that the environment of the natural habitat and wildlife, that is flora and fauna, to spearhead sustainability to the community and the wildlife to the present and future generation, the Tanzania Wildlife Management Authority Tower have put much effort and emphasis in offering educational in environmental conservation in collaboration with the Wildlife Management Area WMA, the tourism sector stakeholders, together with the community around the area.
We educate. This education is divided into 3 parts: conservation education, education on how to deal with wildlife animal, and we also cater for environmental education. In this community, we are successful by a larger percentage because we provide education in institutions like schools, but also in villages. If you look at this area, it has been taken care of in a larger percentage and is conducive for conservation, investment activities including phototourism and hunting tourism, of which leads to adding income from conservation activities. We can measure that income by the year 2022. They have managed to collect 2 billion shillings, so this is a profit that goes back to the villages in order to continue doing conservation activities including wildlife and environmental protection. But the most important thing we offer in these areas, we have said, is sustainable conservation. There is a positive impact that comes from conservation through investment in conservation areas, tourism activities, hence continuation on a larger scale in tourism activities, and we get a lot of tourists.
The Buronga community, in collaboration with Wildlife Management Area WMA, has been able to introduce wildlife and human protection by providing employment to women within the community as game rangers. The game rangers do patrol within 24 hours so as to ensure the tight security, hence all illegal conduct within the managed and conserved area for wildlife is prevented, and at the same time, the wildlife animals do not invade the human area and destroy their crops and livestock.
Kazi hii imenipatia ufanisi mkubwa.
This work has given me tremendous success. I've been able to educate my child, build a house, and doing various social activities. I advise my fellow women to do this work, to love it, and to do it with confidence. We help the community in protecting of their properties. For example, we do patrol work, we protect the crops and help people chasing away wild animals that destroy their properties. Secondly, we are protecting
Hello, Saudi Kharka, hello!
एकदमै राम्रो रहेछ रिफ्रेस्ड फिल भयो त्यो क्योसबाट अलि टाढा आएको जस्तो
यहाँसम्मको एउटा केबल कार भइदिए एकदम बेटर हुन्थ्यो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
माहौल अथवा यहाँको वातावरण यति रमणीय छ कि यसलाई शब्दमा वर्णन गर्न पनि साध्य छैन
Houses stacked upon one another, the white Himalayan peaks, vibrant flower gardens of Bukit Batan, melodious rivers and lakes, and unique authentic arts and culture. All of these make Eastern Rukum a place that captivates every visitor. Is to bring this distant, remote land closer to all. This time our destination is Chauri Kharga, located at an altitude of about 4,000 meters above sea level. Our trek begins at Pati Halune. On the border of Eastern Rukum and Baglung along the Mid-Hill Highway. Though it is said that the hike to Chauri Kharga takes around 3 hours, we wonder how long it will take us.
I'm very happy.
सिन हेर्न पाइएन अहिले चाहिँ त्यही अब आज हजुर बिहान 5 बजे आएर ल्याएको हिजो बेलुका त पुरै कुहिरो थियो यहाँ त केही देखिएन
Karkas sits high in the hills of Bhumi Rural Municipality 1 in eastern Rukum. It is truly a rare gift of nature, beyond words to fully describe. peaks Puta, Dhaulagiri, Chure and Sisne. They reveal themselves in full grandeur. Rivers flowing through the valleys, including the northern Ganga and Niseldhor, together with the backdrop of Dhor Patan, enchant every traveller. The meadows of Chauri Kharka bloom with colourful flowers. Among them, cows, sheep and horses graze peacefully, creating a scene that feels almost dreamlike. Travelers walk along narrow trails, disappearing and reappearing through the mist, immersed in the enchantment of the landscape.
हाम्रो वरिपरिको यो डाँडाहरू भ्यू भनेको उसु भने वाइल्ड फ्लावर्सले सबैले एकदम रिफ्रेश त्यही नै भन्ने होला आउनु पनि वर्थ इटै छ.
The weary faces of trekkers brighten as they take in these views, and you can clearly see joy and wonder reflected in their eyes. Fatigue melts away into the beauty of nature. Eastern Rukum is blessed with a wealth of natural treasures, mountains, rivers, lakes, caves, and valuable In recent years, Chauri Kharka has become an increasingly popular destination for domestic travelers, drawing visitors eager to witness its natural magnificence.
For centuries, the Kumal community of Nepal has lived closely tied to the earth, shaping clay, cultivating land, and sustaining a cultural identity rooted in indigenous skill, craft, and tradition. Recognized as one of Nepal's marginalized indigenous nationalities, the Kumals, traditionally settled in the hilly regions and inner Tarai plains. Cultural practices and oral histories indicate that they have been part of Nepal's civilization since ancient times. As inhabitants of Nepal's fertile river valleys and plains, the Kumals have carried forward a deep-rooted tradition of earthenware craftsmanship, agriculture, and a rich cultural heritage that reflects centuries of resilience and adaptation. Their pottery has been more than household utility. It has been a marker of identity, livelihood, and cultural continuity. Today, as modern vessels replace handmade earthen vessels, the Kumals find themselves preserving not only a profession but a heritage passed down through generations. According to an ancient belief, clay work began at the time of creation when Prajapati, the son of Brahma, molded the first earthen vessel using Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The Sanskrit term Kumbhakar, meaning pot maker, gradually transformed, becoming Kumhar and eventually Kumal. Even today, pottery remains spiritually and culturally significant for the community. In Kumal settlements, soil is not just the ground beneath their feet. It is raw material, cultural memory, and a symbol of survival. The Kumal population is spread mainly across central Tarai districts of Nepal, namely across Lumbini, Gandaki, and Bagmati provinces. Traditionally, they rely on two main occupations, agriculture and pottery. Farms provided daily sustenance, while pottery supported household needs and served as a source of income. Community life historically revolved around extended family systems, with shared labor, collective participation in rituals, and a strong sense of belonging to ancestral land. Pottery for the Kumals is a detailed, multi-stage skill passed down through generations. The process begins with identifying the right soil. Black clay, the Kalo Matu, was traditionally preferred for its strength and texture. It was collected near riverbanks, ponds, and settled waterbeds. Among Tharu Kumals, this clay is also known as Kamaune Matu, meaning clay that earns. Clay is soaked, softened, and thoroughly kneaded. Using a tool called pasur, potters slice and cleanse the clay to remove impurities. In earlier times, bamboo tools were used instead of iron. The prepared clay is stored covered, maintaining moisture for shaping. The chakra or potter's wheel remains central to Kumal identity. Hands center the clay, fingers guide it, and experience shapes it. Tools like thap and pitani help refine form and smooth surface. Large vessels, water jars, grand pots, cooking pots, and ritual vessels were once part of every Nepali household, each bearing the touch of Kumal craftsmanship. Freshly formed pots are cut from the wheel with thread or leaf strips and set to dry, first in shade to prevent cracks, then under the sun. A reddish clay called Kabish Matu is applied for finish and strength. The firing structure, Awa or Auri, is built from wood, straw, husk, and cow dung. Pots are stacked carefully, forming a dome-like structure covered with hay and soil. The firing process takes up to 3 days. The Kumals maintain rich intangible heritage through customs, rituals, music and dance. The Keli dance is one of the most distinctive cultural expressions of the Kumals. Traditionally performed by men dressed as women, it is associated with community celebrations and spiritual belief. The performance concludes with blessings for the household hosting the event. Marriage traditionally takes place within the community, though intercaste marriage, particularly with Magar communities, has become common.
Ada nen budi ciura. Dari pokoknya nen budi ciura. Pokoknya budi ciura.
Samdi fight is also popular in this culture, where fathers of bride and groom go through a physical battle as a part of entertainment. A child's naming ceremony called Nwaran takes place on the 9th day for daughters and 11th day for sons, where a young unmarried girl narrates the name referred by the priest. Gon Ponni, a ritual where the mother burns bedding used during childbirth, is followed by baths. The child is then named and welcomed.
बोलाउने नाम आशिष कुमाल, देवताको नाम गोविन्द कुमाल, मेरो नाम सन्तोष कुमाल.
Grandmothers carry babies around the home, chasing the newborn with a catapult, symbolically granting strength and sealing belonging. That rites emphasize purity, remembrance and respect. The eldest son are the one performing final rites, often standing inside a fishing net, performs final rites reflecting links to water-based livelihood and spiritual symbolism. Among the many Kumal rituals, ancestral worship, Kul Puja is considered the most important. It is performed in remembrance of those deceased in the family and is also known as Pitri Puja. The Kul Puja honors ancestors annually, while the worship of Singh Devta, urn-shaped forest deities, highlights ties to nature and livestock protection. The Kumal people speak their own indigenous language, Kumal, which belongs to the Tibeto-Burman family. However, due to increasing influence of Nepali language and modernization, the use of Kumal language has been declining and community efforts continue to revive it through cultural programs and schools. Most Kumals practice Hinduism, worshipping deities such as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and local protective gods and goddesses. Ancestral worship and belief in nature spirits hold deep cultural importance. Traditional attire for men includes white clothing and the dhaka topi, while women wear black blouses, traditional skirts, and red shawls, often adorned with local jewelry. With industrial materials such as aluminum, steel, and plastic replacing clay vessels, the demand for traditional pottery has sharply declined. Many Kumal families have moved to agriculture, labor, service work, or small businesses. Modern education and new employment opportunities are reshaping the choices of younger generations. Their hands do not merely shape clay, they sculpt culture, memory, and the foundation of Nepal's artistic soul. The Kumal community stands at a historic crossroads between tradition and modernity, memory and transition. Their identity is closely tied to clay, yet their future relies on adapting to changing socio-economic landscapes. Their story is not only about pottery, but resilience of a people who shaped Nepal's cultural foundation long before industry and technology. The preservation of Kumal heritage is not a matter of nostalgia. It is a recognition of indigenous knowledge, cultural diversity, and history shaped by hands that turn earth into life. If the story of Nepal is one of civilizations formed by soil and river, then the Kumal legacy will always remain at its foundation.
Over 65,000 Nepalese submit details through Foreign Ministry's online portal for assistance amid Middle East crisis. Flights from TI also continues to be disrupted. NOC limits cooking gas distribution to half cylinders, move targeted to manage shortages triggered by Middle East conflict. Over 65,000 Nepalese submit details through Foreign Ministry's online portal for assistance. Flights from TIA also continues to be disrupted. NOC limits cooking gas distribution to half cylinders, move targeted to manage shortages triggered by Middle East conflict. RSP secures highest NOC limits cooking gas distribution. RSP secures highest 182 seats as PR vote count concludes. 6 parties cross threshold to gain recognition as national parties. Iran's new supreme leader vows to keep blocking Strait of Hormuz in his first statement. Oil prices surge amid global supply concerns. China's annual parliamentary session concludes in Beijing. Mead endorses 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development. And the Iranian sports minister confirms Iran not participating in FIFA World Cup 2026. Withdrawal from US host tournament cited as security concerns. Hello there, I'm Smita Singh Tamang and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours. The news in detail. A total of 65,886 Nepali citizens have registered their personal details in the online registration system launched by the Department of Consular Services under the Nepal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs amid the ongoing Middle East crisis so far. According to the Foreign Ministry, the submitted details are currently being assessed and processed for further necessary action. The online portal was launched on March 2nd and personal information is being collected through the respective Nepali embassies in the region. According to Ministry spokesperson Lok Bahadur Paudel, as per the decisions of the second meeting of the emergency response team coordinated by Foreign Secretary Amrit Bahadur Rai, all Nepali missions in the Middle East have been directed to contact Nepali citizens facing difficulties through email, telephone or other appropriate communication channels, make efforts to maintain their morale and document their responses. In addition, the escalating Middle East tensions also has disrupted international flights, leaving Nepali travelers from Tribhuvan Airport stranded amid uncertainty. Nepal Oil Corporation has decided to distribute only half cylinders of cooking gas to consumers in a bid to manage the ongoing supply shortage in the market. Gas shortages have been reported in the Nepali market for the past 2 months, with the situation worsening recently due to rising tensions and conflict in Middle East. NOC says the move has been introduced after consumers began stockpiling more gas cylinders than necessary, creating further imbalance in supply. Authorities also have urged not to stockpile and switch to electric stoves if possible. We delve more into the escalating Middle East conflict and consequences it has brought on our segment Issue of the Day later in the bulletin. The vote counting under the proportional representation PR system for the House of Representatives HOR election, which took place on March 5, has been completed. The Election Commission has published the final allocation of seats to the political parties. According to the results, 6 parties have crossed the electoral threshold and have been recognized as national parties. The Commission says 11,168,032 votes were cast out of 18,903,689 registered voters. According to the final results, the Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP has secured 57 seats under the PR system, followed by the Nepali Congress with 20 seats, CP and UML with 16 seats, NCP with 9 seats, the SSP and RPP with 4 seats each. With this, the RSP now holds 182 out of 275 seats in the House of Representatives, remaining 3 seats short of the 2/3 majority required in the parliament. Iran will fight on and keep the Strait of Hormuz shut, new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei said on Thursday in a statement read out by a presenter on state television, the first remarks attributed to him since he succeeded his slain father. In a defiant address, Khamenei said Iran's neighbors should close all United States bases on their territory, which Iran would continue to attack. At least 3 more cargo ships have been attacked in the Gulf, apparently by Iran. Meanwhile, oil prices rose and stocks sank in Asia today as Iran struck 2 tankers in Iraq and threatened to bring down the global economy, overshadowing a record release of strategic crude by the International Energy Agency, IEA. Multiple explosions also have been reported across Iran's capital Tehran and other cities as US-Israeli attacks continue. Now, China has concluded its annual parliamentary meeting, approving a series of key policies and legislative measures that will shape the country's economic and social development in the coming years. During the meeting, lawmakers endorsed the government work report and approved China's 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development, covering the period from 2026 to 2030. Delegates also passed several major laws, including the Ecological and Environmental Code, the Ethnic Unity and Progress Promotion Law, and the National Development Planning Law. Chinese top legislator Zhao Leiji addressed the closing ceremony, highlighting the role of legislation in supporting the country's long-term development goals. We bring more on this in our segment cover story later in the bulletin. The All Nepal Football Association (ANFA) has appointed 52-year-old Swiss coach Guglielmo Arena as the head coach of the Nepal national men's football team. Arena has been given a one-year mandate to lead the team. Arena previously managed clubs in Laos and Morocco. His appointment marks the return of a European coach to Nepali football after nearly 2.5 years. His first assignment will be Nepal's international friendly against Hong Kong at Dashra Stadium on March 26. An AFC Pro license holder, Arena is recognized as a tactical nomad, a coach capable of adapting strategies according to team needs. In the past 5 years, the Nepal men's football team has gone through 6 different coaches, including 3 foreign appointments, reflecting continued efforts to strengthen the team ahead of regional and international competitions. Rising tensions in the Middle East are beginning to ripple across Nepal, disrupting fuel supplies, air travel, and the lives of thousands of migrant workers. As cooking gas shortages grow and flights through key transit hubs are cancelled, the government is also scrambling to ensure the safety of Nepali peacekeepers and citizens in the region. Our special package looks at how a distant conflict is creating real consequences at home after this break. You're watching NTV World News Hour, and now we turn into our issue of the day. The government of Nepal has expressed concern over the escalating tensions in the Middle East and stressed the need to ensure the safety of peacekeepers deployed in the region. According to Nepal's permanent mission to the United Nations in New York City, Nepal has emphasized the importance of guaranteeing the security of the United Nations interim force in Lebanon. The call follows a recent attack in southern Lebanon that left 3 peacekeepers injured. Nepal joined other UN member states in expressing strong support for the personnel and stressed that peacekeepers should never be targeted. The government also strongly condemned attacks against UN staff and wished the injured personnel a swift and full recovery. Nepal, along with the international community, has urged all concerned parties to exercise maximum restraint, respect international law, and fully implement relevant resolutions of the United Nations Security Council. Escalating tensions in the Middle East have severely disrupted international flights through one of the key transit hubs in the world. This has left many travelers struggling to reach their destinations, including those from Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. Authorities say rescue flights and alternative routes are being arranged, but uncertainty continues for those urgently needing to travel. Sabika Shrestha brings the story of panic-stricken travelers.
समस्या त अब फ्लाइट क्यान्सल भएको छ सबैजना अब रिस्केजुलको लागि कोही रिफन्डको लागि आउनु भएको छ अब सकेसम्म चाँडोभन्दा चाँडो मान्छेहरूलाई चाहिँ रिस्केजुल गरेर आफ्नो डेस्टिनेसन पुर्याइदिए सहज हुन्थ्यो भन्ने लाग्छ अब रिस्केजुलको लागि अनलाइन नहुने रहेछ फेरि मान्छेहरू यहाँ आउनु पर्यो लाइन बस्नु पर्यो दिनभरि लाग्ने रहेछ के यो त यो चाहिँ अनलाइन गरिदिए चाहिँ अझ अलि सहज हुन्थ्यो कि मान्छेहरूलाई
This is a regular routine for many Nepali migrant workers who are knocking the doors of their flight operators to reschedule their ticket. Disruption of flights in some of the major labor destinations of Nepali migrant workers has troubled thousands who had come home on vacation. They are more worried about reaching their destination rather than personal safety, despite the conflict in the Middle East escalating by the day. Since the workers travel on a tight schedule and fear losing their job contract if they don't reach within 60 days, they are hit the panic button.
उहाँहरुको समस्या के एउटा चाहिँ त्यो मोस्ट अफ द पिपल चाहिँ अहिले उहाँहरु के भने छुट्टीमा आउनु भएको छ 1 महिना या 2 महिना धेरै कम्पनीहरुले जम्मा 2 महिना 60 दिनको भिजा दिया हुन्छ र 60 दिन भित्र त्यहाँ फर्किएन भने त्यो भिजाको चाहिँ भिजा भ्यालिड भयो भने पनि 2 महिना भित्र 60 दिन भित्र रिटर्न भएन भने त्यो अटो भिजा चाहिँ एक्सपायर हुन्छ र अटो एक्सपायर हुनु भनेको पछाडीको रोजगारी पनि गुम्नु हो नि यहाँबाट नेपालबाट बेसिकली मिडल इस्ट र युरोप अनि अमेरिकन डेस्टिनेसनहरुमा जाने चाहिँ मोस्ट अफ द प्यासेन्जर अथवा हामीलाई फ्लाइट भनेको अलि सस्तो पनि यही मिडल इस्ट क्यारियर नै थियो यिनहरु नै बन्द हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब नेपालीहरुको त मोमेन्ट नै बन्द भयो.
The disruption, which began on March 12, has impacted flights through major transit hubs such as Doha, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, and Jordan, also affecting passengers transiting in those destinations. As a result, hundreds of passengers have been left stranded or forced to delay their travel, creating congestion at airline counters at Tribhuvan International Airport and their head offices. Airlines operating from Nepal and the Middle East have reduced or cancelled a number of flights as the regional airspace remains partially restricted. Aviation officials say more than 75 flights have been cancelled over the past 2 weeks, leaving more than 12,000 passengers affected. Meanwhile, officials at Tribhuvan International Airport say airlines are gradually adjusting operations to minimize disruptions. Spokesperson for Tribhuvan International Airport said rescue flights are being arranged and airlines are also modifying routes to continue services.
अहिले फुल शेड्युलमा पनि फ्लाइटहरु सञ्चालन त गरेको छैन जस्तो 4 वटा फ्लाइट छ भने 3 वटा गरिएको छ 2 टा फ्लाइटहरु गरेको छ भने एउटा अब जति आएको छ अहिले चाहिँ धेरै स्ट्यान्डर्ड प्यासेन्जरहरुलाई गरिरहेको छ एयरलाइन्सहरुसँग पनि हामी क्लोज कोअर्डिनेसनमा छौं र उनीहरुले पनि अब नोटिस निकालिरहेको छ यो फ्लाइट हुन्छ यो हुँदैन र अब उनीहरुलाई पनि त्यो कुन दिनमा कसको फ्लाइटहरु हुन्छ भन्ने कुराहरु नि उनीहरुले पब्लिक नोटिस नि जारी गरेकोले उनीहरुलाई सबै प्यासेन्जरहरुलाई चाहिँ एकदम हेल्प गरिरहनु भएको छ अहिले.
As of Thursday evening, only 3 rescue flights, 1 each from Nepal Airlines, Himalaya Airlines and Air Arabia, have landed at Tribhuvan International Airport, ferrying stranded passengers at Dubai Airport. According to the TIA, 2 flights, one of Fly Dubai and another of Air Arabia, have been scheduled to depart to Dubai on Thursday. Authorities say they are closely monitoring developments in the Middle East and coordinating with airlines to ensure passengers are assisted as the airspace over major labor destination of Nepali migrant workers struggles to operate. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Nepal's aviation sector has pivoted from a historic high to a sudden standstill as Middle Eastern airspace closures wipe out 60% of the daily traffic at Tribhuvan International Airport. The suspension of approximately 17 daily flights to the Gulf region has stranded thousands of workers and triggered an immediate crisis for the nation's remittance-dependent economy. Sarah Sapsanamarai looks into the numbers.
For 3 years,
Trivandrum International Airport in the capital Kathmandu represented Nepal's gaining momentum from post-pandemic surge of 2023 to historic milestone in 2025 when international passenger numbers crossed the 5 million mark for the first time. The airport was a system running at its absolute limit. But as of March 12, 2026, the heart of Nepal's global connection is beating at half speed. Just 2 weeks ago, on February 27, the airport recorded a peak of 106 international flights to and fro, moving over 16,900 passengers in a day. According to Civil Aviation Authority Nepal, those numbers have collapsed by more than 25% on a daily basis now. Passenger traffic has dwindled to around 6,800, with daily international flight movements dropping down from 106 to just around 80, as airlines like Qatar Airways and Air Arabia face massive disruptions. Qatar Airways has seen nearly 90% of its schedule vanish globally, operating just 29 flights a day from Doha, while Air Arabia's regional network remains a shadow of its former self, according to international media reports. Even that number includes cargo freighters and one-way emergency rescue missions. The bottleneck is most visible at the terminal gates, where nearly 2,000 migrant workers remain stranded, their labor permits in hand, but no sky to fly through. With over 28 daily flights to and from Gulf hubs like Doha and Dubai cancelled or diverted, Nepal's vital 80 billion rupees monthly remittance flow is under immediate threat, just as the spring trekking season, which usually sees 100,000 plus arrivals, faces a wave of cancellations from Europe. 3 emergency rescue flights have landed so far at the Trivandrum International Airport. This includes one each from Nepal Airlines, Himalaya Airlines and Air Arabia. The rescue flights were operated targeting the transiting passengers at Dubai International Airport who had been waiting for days. For a nation built on mobility, these silent skies represent more than a delay. They are also a test of Nepal's economic resilience. Sarah Sapsanamarai for NTV World, Kathmandu.
The Middle East crisis has triggered flight cancellations and limited schedules, disrupting travel for passengers around the world, including Nepali passengers. On today's Public Pulse, we asked the Nepali passengers how these disruptions are affecting them. Let's have a look at what they say.
सम्भव भयो भने त हामी अहिले त के छ भने बर्मिङहमको लागि हामी अहिले त हामी युके को कुनै एयरपोर्टमा भयो नभए युरोपै भयो भने जान पाए चाहिँ हुन्थ्यो भन्ने भएको छ त्यो पनि अहिलेसम्म पोसिबल भएको छैन
जानी हामी चाहिँ जानी वहाँ केटाकेटी छन् है केटाकेटी छोडेर आएको अब जति सक्दो छिटो जान पाए हुन्थ्यो भन्ने भइराखा
अब कुरेरै जाने हो अब अन्त हैन अल्टरनेटिभ गरेर भन्ने अब तपाईको 7-8 लाख भन्छ हैन वान वेको त्यो त हामीले त रिटर्न टिकट आएको लिएर आएको त त्यो फेरि त्यसलाई रिफन्ड गर्दा थोरै दिन्छ नि त हैन अब फेरि अर्को एयरलाइन्स लिएर जाँदाखेरि त त्यत्रो तिर्नुपर्छ त्यो भएर हामी चाहिँ यसमै होल्ड अन गरेर बस्छौँ
म चाहिँ युके जानुपर्ने मेरो 6 तारिखको थियो है मैले सारेर 20 तारिखको गरेको थिएँ अब केही यसो चेन्जेस हुन्छ कि भनेर खासमा म यहाँ आएको हो हैन अब यसो चाँडै अलिक छिटै भयो भने चाहिँ जान पाऊँ भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ आएको हो म
वारको कारणले चाहिँ फ्लाइट क्यान्सल भएको कारणले रिसेड्युल गर्नलाई म चाहिँ यहाँ आएको एयरलाइन्सको अपडेट अनुसार हामीले डिसिजन लिनेछौँ
हामीले जानै पर्ने छ अब फेरि रिफन्ड गर्यो भने महँगो पनि पर्छ टिकट भनेको टाइममा पाउन सकिँदैन त्यो भएर हामी चाहिँ बढी होल होस् 15-20 दिन जति टाइम लागोस् हामी त्यही अनुसार जान्छौँ
कतार ट्रान्जिट भएको भएर त्यहाँ चाहिँ चलिरहेको छैन नि त अनि त्यही भएर गाह्रो भएन अब जाने चाहिँ जाने भन्नु भएको छ
जानु चाहिँ पर्ने छ अब केही उपाय लागेन भने चाहिँ अब अरू नै फ्लाइट अब जति महँगै भए पनि अब फ्लाइट अटेन्ड गरेर चाहिँ जानै पर्ने हुन्छ मैले
टाइममा रिसेड्युल गर्दिनँ भने त यही फ्लाइटमा पनि जाँदा भयो होइन अब उहाँको रुटिनै बिग्रिने गरी फेरि त्यस्तो अवस्था आउने भयो भने चाहिँ हामीहरूलाई बरु रिफन्डको पनि भयो भने टाइममा रिफन्ड भइदियो समयमा पैसाहरू आइदियो भने अर्को फ्लाइट पकडेर पनि जान सक्ने हाम्रो स्थिति हुन्छ भन्ने लाग्छ
Meanwhile, escalating conflict in Iran has disrupted global supply chains after attacks targeted ships carrying petroleum products, directly affecting the availability of cooking gas in Nepal. Amid the ongoing supply shortage in the market, Nepal Oil Corporation, meanwhile, has decided to distribute only half cylinders of cooking gas to consumers. Consumers across the country, including in Kathmandu, are seen waiting at the queues to refill cooking gas cylinders, but many are forced to return home with empty cylinders. Vijeta Bandari, along with Kamal, digs more in the next report.
Gas shortages have persisted for the past 2 months, worsened by escalating tensions and conflict in Middle East, disrupting global petroleum shipments. Nepal imports LPG from the Indian Oil Corporation, which supplies the fuel through the Nepal Oil Corporation. In wake of the ongoing shortage, the Nepal Oil Corporation has announced it will supply only half cylinders of cooking gas to consumers in an effort to manage the ongoing domestic shortage. The decision follows a board meeting on Thursday amid rising scarcity of liquefied petroleum gas in the market. According to Executive Director Chandika Prasad Bhatta, the move responds to widespread stockpiling by consumers, which further strained supply.
विभिन्न मुलुकले विभिन्न तरिकाले आफ्नो भनौं न मुलुकमा चाहिँ इन्धनको खपत कम गर्नको लागि विभिन्न उपायहरू अवलम्बन गरेका छन्। भारतमा हेर्नुहुन्छ भने उहाँहरूले औद्योगिक प्रयोजनका धेरैजसो औद्योगिक प्रयोजनका ग्यास सिलिन्डरहरू कटौती गरिसक्नु भएको छ। थाइल्यान्डमा चाहिँ अब कार्यालयमा आउने कर्मचारीले सुट टाई लाउन नपाउने, लिफ्टको प्रयोग गर्न नपाउने, किन त्यहाँ त इन्धनको बचत गर्नको लागि। पाकिस्तानमा यहाँको एकैचोटी पेट्रोल र डिजलमा चाहिँ 55 रुपैयाँ लिटरमा बढाइदियो हैन। र युनिभर्सिटीहरू चाहिँ साताको 4 दिन मात्रै चलाउने, अनलाइन क्लासहरू सञ्चालन गरेका छन्। मन्त्री र सांसदको 2 महिनाको तलब कटौती गरेका छ फ्युल आयात गर्नको लागि। त्यस्तै बंगलादेशमा पनि युनिभर्सिटीहरू बन्द गरेका छन्, अनलाइन क्लासहरूलाई प्राथमिकता दिएका छन्।
Authorities have urged people to use gas sparingly, switch to electric stoves where possible, and avoid hoarding, warning that prolonged conflict could affect other petroleum products as well. With petroleum products in short supply across the market, general public have criticized ineffective monitoring of distribution, prompting the government to pledge stronger and more effective market oversight to ensure fuel reaches the households.
Meanwhile, India is facing growing concerns over a possible cooking gas shortage as disruptions from the Middle East conflict affect energy supplies. Authorities say India is planning to prioritize natural gas distribution after the war in the Middle East disrupted shipments of liquefied natural gas. In the western city of Vadodara, residents were seen queuing outside gas agencies with empty cylinders, reporting delays in receiving cooking gas. Many households fear a potential shortage of liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, which is widely used for cooking across the country. Officials say the government is monitoring the situation closely as supply chains remain under pressure due to the ongoing conflict affecting energy routes in the Middle East. And that wraps up our issue of the day. On to the next segment now. China has approved a new 5-year economic blueprint that could reshape the future of the world's second largest economy. The plan signals a major shift towards artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing and stronger domestic consumption as Beijing moves away from its traditional reliance on property and infrastructure. Our cover story examines what this transition means for China and for the global economy. You're watching NTV World, and this is the News Hour. Now we turn into our cover story. China has approved outline of a new 5-year economic blueprint that could reshape how the world's second largest economy grows. Lawmakers in Beijing adopted the 15th 5-year plan covering 2026 to 2030, setting out priorities that include artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, green development and boosting domestic consumption. The plan signals a major shift in China's growth strategy away from property and infrastructure towards technology and consumer demand. And because China is a central driver of global trade, supply chains and climate policy, the direction of its economy matters far beyond its borders. Shivani Thapa-Basnat brings the story.
5-year plans have historically shaped China's economic transformation, but experts say this one may mark a turning point. For more than 4 decades, China's rapid rise was powered by infrastructure construction, export manufacturing, and a booming property sector. That model is now under strain. Economic growth has slowed, the real estate market has weakened, and China's population is beginning to shrink. Against that backdrop, the government has set an annual growth target of around 4.5 to 5%. The lowest range China has seen since the early 1990s. The new plan therefore signals a structural shift in how China intends to grow. Instead of relying primarily on construction and exports, Beijing says the next phase will depend on innovation, advanced technology, and stronger consumer spending. Artificial intelligence sits at the center of that strategy. Officials say AI will be integrated across the economy, from factories and logistics network to healthcare systems and urban infrastructure. Research and development spending is expected to rise by more than 7% annually as China pushes to strengthen domestic capabilities in areas such as semiconductors, quantum computing, and smart manufacturing. This reflects another key priority: technological self-reliance. Amid growing technology competition with the United States and the restrictions on advanced chips, Beijing is accelerating efforts to build its own innovation ecosystem. At the same time, policymakers want Chinese consumers to play a larger role in economic growth. Household consumption currently accounts for about 40% of China's GDP, far below the global average. Officials say they want to increase that share by the end of the decade. To do that, the government plans policies aimed at raising incomes and reducing the financial pressures that make families reluctant to spend. Those include expanding elderly care services, supporting families raising children, and narrowing the income gap between urban and rural residents. Chinese leaders describe this approach as investing in people, the idea that households are more likely to spend when they feel secure about jobs, healthcare, and retirement. But the transition will not be easy. China's property sector, once responsible for roughly a quarter of economic activity when related industries are included, has been in a prolonged downturn since 2021. Falling home prices have eroded household wealth and confidence. Demographic pressures are also intensifying, with declined birth rates and a shrinking workforce posing long-term challenges. Even so, Beijing says the plan will reinforce China's role in the global economy. The strategy includes expanding renewable energy, accelerating the shift towards a low-carbon economy, and continuing to open parts of China's market to foreign investment. For the rest of the world, the stakes are significant. China is the largest trading partner for more than 120 countries, a major manufacturing hub and a key player in global climate policy. A stronger push into advanced technologies could reshape global industrial competition. Meanwhile, if China succeeds in turning its vast population into a more powerful consumer market, it could create new opportunities for companies and exporters worldwide. But if the transition proves difficult, particularly if weak consumer confidence persists, the effects could ripple through global supply chains and commodity markets. In that sense, the success or failure of China's latest 5-year plan will not just shape the country's economic future, it could also influence the trajectory of the global economy in the decade ahead. Shivani Thapa Bosnath, NTV World.
And that concludes our cover story of the day. Now the remaining updates. The temperature in most parts of Nepal has increased from March 10 to 12, that's today. Data from the country's Department of Hydrology and Meteorology suggests a gradual rise in temperature in most cities of the Tarai and Madhes regions. A similar pattern has also been noticed in Kathmandu. On March 10, the temperature in the federal capital was recorded at 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, while it reached 25.4 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Tonight, the minimum temperature is expected to range between 15 and 17 degrees Celsius. Until this afternoon, Siraha and Bake reported the highest temperature at 31.1 degrees Celsius, while Humde Airport in Manang recorded 3.2 degrees Celsius. Overall, the temperature is forecast to rise over the next 3 days, with generally fair weather conditions expected. Meteorologists say that the temperature has increased due to rising air humidity and is likely to increase further in the coming days. In Nepal's hilly districts of Gulmi and Sakuasaba, election police recruited for March 5 HR elections have been bade farewell following the successful conduct of the polls. In Gulmi, the district police office organized a farewell program honoring 1,700 election police from Nepal Police and Armed Police Force. Superintendent of Police Narayan Prasad Adhikari lauded their vital role in maintaining peace, fairness and a fear-free environment during the elections. Meanwhile, in Sakuasaba, nearly 1,000 temporary election police were bid farewell after 40 days of duty at the Arunghat camp. Deputy Superintendent of Police Kumar Prasad Mainali said their effective performance was crucial in conducting the elections smoothly despite limited facilities. Both districts recognized the contributions of the election police with certificates of appreciation. Many recruits noted that the short-term employment provided much-needed support amid rising unemployment. Officials say similar mobilizations will be important in future provincial and local elections. Historic palaces with archaeological significance in Nepal's far western district of Doti are gradually falling into ruin, highlighting growing concerns about the protection of cultural heritage in Nepal. Local residents say the palaces, important symbols of the region's history and potential tourist attractions, have deteriorated due to a lack of conservation efforts. Many of these structures were built during the rule of regional kings in the Rana dynasty across the far western region of the country. The palaces constructed during the powerful era of the Doti kingdom are known for their distinctive architecture and traditional craftsmanship. However, experts and locals warn that without immediate restoration and international attention, these historically significant sites could be lost. Among the key heritage structures are the Bhairavkot Palace, Niroli Palace, Durkot Palace and another palace located in Silgari, Chachantali. Several of these sites have already collapsed into ruins. The Malla-era Niroli Palace in Jorayal Rural Municipality 6 is also rapidly deteriorating. It has stressed preserving such sites as vital not only for Nepal's national identity, but also for safeguarding cultural heritage of global significance. In a village in Nepal's western district of Siangja, locals have preserved traditional settlement names while pursuing development, creating a model that balances progress with cultural identity. Known as Nepal's first homestay village, Ponchamul continues to attract tourists, while officials say its approach helps protect heritage, often lost through renaming trends elsewhere. Subeksha Rajak, along with local correspondent Himal Neupane, brings more in this story.
With federalism bringing development projects and administrative restructuring, the trend of renaming villages and settlements has grown across Nepal. In many places, contemporary names have overshadowed traditional ones known for generations. However, Ponchamul Majubhanjang village in Adikhola Rural Municipality 1, Siangja, has taken a different path. Locals have preserved their traditional village names while using them to establish a new identity. identity. Community members say naming development projects after local settlements has made social activities and administrative work easier, while also strengthening local recognition. Clear identification of settlements helps in project selection and makes social and administrative tasks more effective, said local resident Khemnanda Sharma.
हाम्रो यो पुरानो नामले चिनिने जुन टोलहरू थिए त्यो टोलको नामाकरण पनि नमेटिने र अनि त्यसपछि विकासको क्रमलाई पनि हामीले चाहिँ यो टोल छुट्याएर राख्दाखेरि विकास गर्नको लागि पनि हेरियो टोलका लागि यति काम गर्न सहज होस् भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ सहज हुन्छ भन्ने लाग्छ मलाई.
Panchmul is also known as the first homestay village in Nepal, attracting both domestic and international tourists. Locals believe that preserving traditional names alongside homestay tourism helps visitors understand the village's cultural identity while protecting its originality. Adikhola Rural Municipality representative Vishwanath Paudel noted that while renaming trends elsewhere risk erasing heritage, Panchmul's initiative to safeguard traditional names can serve as a model.
मान्छेले आफ्नो स्वभाव शैलीमा परिवर्तन गर्ने कुरा, आफ्ना रीतिरिवाज र संस्कृतिहरूलाई संरक्षण गर्ने कुरा, आदर गर्ने कुराहरू यो सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण विकास रहेको छ.
If replicated, it could ensure that development goes hand in hand with cultural preservation.
Time now for international updates, but before that, let's have a recap of our major stories. Over 65,000 Nepalese submit details via Foreign Ministry's online portal for assistance amid Middle East crisis. Flights from TI also continues to be disrupted. NOC limits cooking gas distribution to half cylinders. Move targeted to manage shortages triggered by Middle East conflict. RSP secures highest 182 seats as PR vote count concludes. 6 parties cross threshold to gain recognition as national parties. Iran's new supreme leader vows to keep blocking Strait of Hormuz in his first statement. Oil prices surge amid global supply concerns. China's annual parliamentary session concludes in Beijing. Meet endorses 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development. And ANFA appoints Guglielmo Arena as head coach of Nepali men's national football team. Arena's first test against Hong Kong on March 26. Bangladesh's newly elected parliament has convened for the first time since the deadly uprising that shook the country in 2024. Lawmakers gathered at the capital Dhaka following February elections that brought Tariq Rahman to power as prime minister. Rahman, leader of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, took office after his party secured victory in the polls, replacing the interim administration that had governed the country since August 2024. The caretaker government had been installed following months of unrest triggered by a violent uprising that left hundreds dead and pushed the nation into political turmoil. The new parliament is now expected to focus on restoring political stability and addressing economic challenges in the South Asian country of around 170 million people. One of France's most famous historic landmarks, the Château de Chambord, is facing a major structural threat as part of the building risks collapsing. Cracks in the walls, weakened floors and shifting structures have been discovered in the François I wing of the Renaissance Palace, forcing authorities to close the area to visitors since 2019. Officials say urgent restoration work is needed to prevent further damage to the historic section, originally built in 1539 for Francis I of France. Experts estimate the large-scale renovation project will cost around 37 million euros. So far, about 12 million euros have been secured through government funding and public donations. A fundraising campaign has also been launched to support the restoration of the UNESCO-listed heritage site, which attracts more than 1 million visitors each year. If the project moves forward as planned, the historic wing could reopen to visitors by 2032. Villagers in Turkey's remote Yavuzkoy area of Savsat district have rescued 3 horses that had been stranded for months in a snow-covered high-altitude winter pasture. The animals, 2 horses and a foal, had been missing for 3 to 4 months before they were spotted near a shelter at about 2,100 meters above sea level. After a villager reported their sighting, local youths used a drone to survey the mountainous terrain and confirmed the horses were trapped near a small highland house surrounded by deep snow. Equipped with homemade snowshoes and winter gear, a group of villagers then trekked for nearly 10 hours through snow more than a meter deep to reach the animals. The horses, which had reportedly gone days without food, were first given hay and fodder before being led down the mountain and safely returned to their owners. Let's take a break here, and after that we shall be back with business news.
Ukrainian drone manufacturer Ukr Systems has opened a new production line near the Mildenhall Air Base in eastern England as Ukraine expands its defense manufacturing across Europe. The facility, located in Suffolk, was inaugurated by Britain's Armed Forces Minister Luke Pollard and Ukraine's ambassador to the UK, Valery Zaluzny. The site will initially produce up to 200 surveillance drones per month, with plans to increase capacity to 1,000 drones monthly. These reconnaissance drones, including the company's Shark model, will support Ukraine's military operations as the country continues to increase drone production following Russia's 2025 invasion. Officials say the move marks a big and bold step in strengthening Ukraine's defense industry and supporting its war effort. A passenger train from China has arrived in Pyongyang, marking the resumption of rail travel between two countries after a 6-year suspension caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The train departed from Beijing and traveled through the border city of Dandong before crossing the Sino-Korean Friendship Bridge into North Korea. Train services between Beijing and Pyongyang were halted in 2020 when North Korea closed its borders to prevent the spread of coronavirus. The service will now operate several times a week, while the Dandong-Pyongyang route will run daily. The Kremlin has accused Ukraine of targeting a major gas pipeline in southern Russia that leads to Turkey with reckless drone strikes. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the Ukraine has hit Russian energy targets throughout Moscow's 4-year offensive.
Это еще одно нападение на объект международной нитки международного нефтепровода, который обеспечивает энергетическую безопасность и Турции, и целого ряда других стран. Абсолютно безрассудные действия киевского режима.
Uber has announced its first robotaxi partnership with Japan, teaming up with Nissan and British autonomous driving startup Wave for a pilot program in Tokyo. The companies plan to launch a trial of self-driving taxis by late 2026, pending approval from local authorities. Riders will be able to hail the vehicle through the Uber app, while the car is powered by Wave's AI driving system and supervised by a trained safety operator inside the vehicle. The partnership comes as global companies including including Waymo, Tesla, and Baidu's Apollo Go, race to deploy autonomous taxi services. The Tokyo trial is expected to be one of the toughest tests yet due to the city's dense traffic, complex roads, and strict safety standards.
Now the sports update. Iran says it will not take part in the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup, citing security concerns amid the escalating conflict in the Middle East. Iran Sports Minister Ahmad Doniamali said the country cannot safely send its national team to the tournament under current conditions following recent military strikes involving the United States and Israel. He said the ongoing war and rising tensions have created a situation where the safety of players and officials cannot be guaranteed. The World Cup, scheduled to be hosted by the United States, Mexico and Canada, is set to run from June 11 to July 19 and will feature 48 teams. Iran had already qualified for the tournament and was drawn in Group G alongside Belgium, Egypt and New Zealand, but its participation now remains uncertain as the regional conflict continues. Clubs from the Premier League failed to secure a win in the first legs of the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League, leaving their chances of reaching the quarterfinals under pressure. Manchester City suffered a 3-0 defeat to Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, placing the Spanish side in a strong possession ahead of the second leg. Chelsea were also beaten 5-2 by defending champions Paris Saint-Germain, leaving the London club facing a difficult task in the return match. Arsenal secured a 1-1 against Bayer Leverkusen and scoring a late penalty, keeping their qualification hopes alive. It is seen that the probability of Premier League teams progressing to the quarterfinals has significantly declined following the first leg results. The second leg matches will be played March 17 to 18, with the aggregate winners advancing to the quarterfinals. The 8-seeded teams who finished in the top 8 spots in the league phase will be at home for the second legs against the 8 teams who qualified through the playoff round. And now it's time for weather updates, first from Nepal and then across the world. And this brings us to the end of our news bulletin. But before we say goodbye, a reminder of our headlines once again. Over 65,000 Nepalese submit details via Foreign Ministry's online portal for assistance amid Middle East crisis. Flights from TIA also continues to be disrupted. NOC limits cooking gas distribution to half cylinders. Move targeted to manage shortages triggered by Middle East conflict. RSP secures highest 182 seats as PR vote count concludes. 6 parties cross threshold to gain recognition as national parties. Iran's new supreme leader vows to keep blocking Strait of Hormuz in his first statement. Oil prices surge amid global supply concerns. China's annual parliamentary session concludes in Beijing. Meet endorses 15th five-year plan for national economic and social development. And ANFA appoints Guglielmo Arenas head coach of Nepali men's national football team. Arenas' first test against Hong Kong on March 26. And that's it with this edition of NTV World News Hour. To join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.